welcome. Hello, hello. Good evening. Thank you. Oh, what is it with the pads recently? I'm sorry. Thank you for the pad. I don't know why it's not working though. It seems like lately it's a little bit late in everything it does. Oh, okay. Hold on. Thank you for the braid redeem, which apparently also doesn't want to work today. That's fine. We're just gonna override it then. Boom. There we go. Now, where's my pet? I swear to God. Where is it? Okay. Okay, there we go. Here it is. There's our pet. I don't know, lately I feel like the computer's like, oh my God, you need to start me like a little more than just 5 minutes before you start your stream. I need to catch up first, okay? You need to give me some time. Because you know, sometimes I will come home like shortly before the stream actually, and because I schedule the 30 minutes to go streams, and sometimes it doesn't really work out. Sometimes it's like, I'm still literally on the way, but sure, my scheduled tweet goes out and it's like, hey, we're gonna start in 30 minutes, and I'll just run home and like, shit, can I even make it in 30 minutes? So the computer's like, oh my God, you want me to do what? But it's okay, we're here now. We're here now. We have our pets, we have our braids, we have dirt on our glasses IRL, so I can see. There we go. Hi Dad, hi Itzy. How you doing? It is Wednesday. It's Wednesday, everyone. That means only 2 more days of the normal work week. Woo! Good, you just woke up? Nice. Yeah, I could go to sleep right now, but I went to bed early yesterday already. I wanna, have some kind of free time I can actually use. So, we're gonna jump back into the game. We finished up chapter 2 last time, which had us fighting against a gargoyle, which I've never heard before in my life. I've only ever heard of gargoyles. I don't fucking know what a gargoyle is supposed... Well, we do know what a gargoyle was supposed to be, at least in this game. We finished that one up, so... And we also saw glimpses of a new character. I don't know yet if he's gonna be nice, if he's gonna be an outside or not, but he's probably gonna show up again, for sure. It's Wednesday, means only a few days of vacation left for me. Oh no! I hate, at the beginning of vacation is always like, oh nice, finally some free time, I have so much time, and then suddenly vacation is over and you have to get back to work and you're like, what? Where did the time go? But yeah, let's see. Oopsie. Let's see what's happening here. It should have been a quiet night, but sometimes things just don't play out as expected. Truth be told, he doesn't even know why he's being chased or by whom, but something tells him the guy with the weapon in his hand running after him wouldn't exactly be interested in answering his questions. 2 weeks is not a lot of time, that's very true. I had 2 weeks off start of August, and I wanted to stream so much more and do so much more stuff, and in the end what I did was just sleep, lament that my time off is gone, and then go back to work. So you're going to help put your kitchen together? Wow! You can do it though. It's gonna be good. When you're finished with it, it's gonna be so good. Okay? You can do. How do you say this in English again? Fingers crossed is when you wish someone luck. I'm rooting for you. That's what I want to say. Thank you for that posture check and the higher time, Michi. Oh, Oh, that was crisp. That was crisp. Jesus Christ. Alright. And I actually remembered to make something to drink before the stream. Nice, right? That means I most likely will not have to get up in the middle of the stream. I say most likely because you never know what's gonna happen. He ducks and dodges, sharply cutting corners in an attempt to shake his unrelenting pursuers. His pounding heartbeat all but drowns out their loud, profane screams and shouts. How many are left? I don't know. I would have to see how many times I do this. I don't think there's gonna be any left. I'd have to go and count how many times the posture tag was redeemed. I don't think we have that many bones in one body. Hi, Noah. Hi, good evening. Well, why? What's the reason for this? He thinks hard but can't recall getting into any trouble lately. At least nothing that to the extent that justifies such a grudge. He did his best to make peace with people in the neighborhood, even those he had issues with in the past. Settling old scores is important, but this is just another reminder that some things can't remain buried in the past. Life is a cruel mistress, always has been. The more you try to avoid trouble, the harder it will come looking for you. He tries to move towards more lively spots to seek shelter in the large crowds, but his pursuers are always one step ahead, subtly blocking his path whenever there's a potential opening. Fights and brawls among young Turks in the streets are nothing unusual, and bystanders tend to keep their distance so as to not get involved. He's seen situations like this play out before, only this time he's the victim. The later it gets, the fewer people are out and about. The night is now a thick veil of darkness, and the pale moonlight is the only thing guiding the boy's way. He runs into a remote park and hides in an overgrown bush. He's completely hidden in the shadow from a nearby streetlight. It's an unassuming spot and nobody gives it a second look. The more often you get into trouble, the more important it becomes to always be prepared and have a backup plan. He can't even remember how often he's already used this spot in the past. He keeps his head low and tries his best to steady his breath. Few regular people ever visit this place, which has naturally made it a hotspot for morally questionable activities and characters. It has been pretty much abandoned. All that remains is a nasty smell. Crap, where did that idiot go? I don't know, man. I know my way around this place. Damn it, I was so close. I almost had him. From what I've heard, he's a thug, just like us. Fast pair of legs on that one. You can't let him escape to his home turf. Hard to tell what that is. This place has changed a lot from what I remember. Crap, this mining thing is a tougher gig than I thought. Can we still change our minds, bro? This guy's a slippery one. I'm sure there are others we could catch more easily. Hi, Guardian. Good evening. Thank you so much for the resub. 18 months. Wow, wow. That is a long time. Oh my god, that is a long time. Thank you so much. Glad you're able. I'm also glad you're able to catch a stream. How have you been? We can just change targets. There are eyes everywhere. If you'd been more careful in the past, there wouldn't be as many cops out and about. Oh, come on, that's way in the past. You know, like kicking and screaming just gets me hyped up. The dialect sounds familiar. Young delinquents just like himself. They don't seem to know the way around this neighborhood. But what is this mining thing they're talking about? It sounds strangely familiar, but he can't place it. Where exactly has he heard the term before? Well, counting on this to make some extra cash. No more mistakes. Yeah, whatever. The sound of footsteps is getting louder. Luck really isn't on his side tonight. There's no escape, nowhere to run. Clenching his fist, he readies himself to strike first. But someone else is faster. Who is it? Before he can even finish asking himself the question, a wave of fear sweeps over his whole body. Click, click. His hair stands on end. He starts sweating profusely and has a hard time breathing. Oh, no. Ooh, ah. Sorry about that. Sometimes I forget that the game will be like, oh, you're scrolling down? That's actually an option. His hair stands on end. He starts sweating profusely and has a hard time breathing. Even though he can't make out what exactly he's looking at, it's enough to put his whole body in a state of shock. You're feeling a bit sick, but otherwise okay. Ooh. Yeah, definitely. Definitely tell me. I'm so bad with reading stuff for myself lately. So bad. But I want to look into it, sure. The voice is impossible to describe. It sounds like nothing he's ever heard before. The syllables sound harsh, like they're being squeezed from deep within the throat, accompanied by slow and heavy breathing. He can't understand a word that's being said, but it's clearly some kind of language instead of just random sounds. Fear of the unknown is putting him on edge. Huh? Who's there? Who's making that noise? Stop hiding, come out. Is that you, Lee? You recognize him? He doesn't look so good. No, Lee isn't... What? He doesn't even pay attention to the two thugs running away in a hurry. All he can think about is how he's hidden in the dark, but that thing is out there in the open. Yet, somehow, he's the one who feels helpless and at a disadvantage. Oh, Ibihime. Oh, I have to catch up on so many of her games, actually. His body trembles as fear and doubt eat away at his mind. He's still hiding in the bush, trying to make himself as small as possible. He's no longer in control. Fear is taking over and is paralyzing his body. A pair of eyes is staring at him. Huge, gloomy eyes filled with evil intent. He can feel their sinister gaze creeping and crawling over his whole body. He can't even look away or close his eyes. Is hiding or trying to escape even worth it, or should he just accept his fate? The feeling of revulsion is growing stronger by the second. By now, even the smallest speck of light has disappeared. The dark of the night is engulfing everything. Breathing rapidly, he suddenly feels a drop of liquid on his skin. Although he has just managed to get his breathing under control, his whole body tenses up again in an instant. It's too much for him. He can't even remember what the weather forecast predicted for tonight. Overcast with an occasional downpour of rain. Run, boy, run. Okay. Can't believe it's already November. Time really flies by. No, it's September tomorrow, but psh. Oh, you've been stuck inside, not being able to tell the difference between night and day. Why do you make that sound as if there's something I should be worried about? Shouldn't you be? Maybe. I try not to think about it too much. It's almost winter. Even the afternoon sun makes fields drowsy during this time of the year. The perfect time for a nice warm cup of tea. Unfortunately, Scarlet has a tendency to chuck everything as if it's water. She's long left a sense of appreciation for the little things in life left behind. Maybe it's a bad idea. Judging by her expression, she's been on a caffeine binge for an entire month, and giving her anything of the sort might well have the opposite effect. Half of your face is covered by the dark circles under your eyes. I take it the case is still a mess? Correct. I haven't slept in my own bed even once in the last 2 weeks. So, there's no progress whatsoever? It's not quite that bad. If it were, I'd seriously have to rethink what I do with my time. The only people we caught were half dead at the scene. They were completely insane and kept chanting strange things over and over. It's hard to count them as witnesses if you can't get a single coherent sentence out of them. Strange things. Any details? There's no time left, you can't delay the inevitable, the usual stuff, you know. The guards who have to keep an eye on them are going crazy. It's not like their minds are completely gone. If you speak to them in a harsh enough tone, they listen. Whether their answer actually makes sense is another story. So it's not totally impossible to get some information out of them. That depends on how much sense you can make of what they're saying. They keep saying that if they won't be freed and allowed to start over again, thunder will come crashing down on this city once more. They say they're the only ones who can prevent that from happening. Their words, not mine. Thunder? Any idea what that could mean? No, I don't. But they seem almost scared, and they keep making it sound like a really big deal. I've asked the guards to dig deeper, but I haven't got a response yet. Every single time you ask one of them about it, they just cower and shake, claiming that they made the same mistake 20 years ago. That's very interesting. If the guy who came by the shop was saying the truth, the ritual's purpose was to escape from this world. And now their means of escape is gone. It seems like most of them would have preferred a quick end rather than prolonging what they perceive as pain. So they think that their current situation is pure suffering. Have they said anything a little less cryptic about the consequences of it all? You're still in your bathtub! Ooh! Should get out and prepare food. That sounds like a great idea. Before you turn into a squid or something. Sadly, no, they don't seem keen on learning from their mistakes. All we get is more unintelligible statements such as the city will be the birthplace of fear and fear itself is the end. Let's not write it off immediately. The police may not take them seriously at all, but at least we've got something. And that's exactly why I can't just walk away from this. You guys called Justin, right? I really need to borrow him. I could use someone with his set of skills. He's in all kinds of trouble with his boss because a series of murders still remains unsolved. Getting him could be very expensive. From what I know, he's even being held for questioning at the moment. That's not an issue, just tell me how much. Amazing. This is no different to you than buying a car, is it? Cut the crap, I know where this is going. So, is it related to the accident? Yes and no. I struck a deal with my superiors that allows me to continue our investigation there. Anyway, I found out one more thing that we can add to the pile of stuff we should be worried about. Scarlett seems stern and serious. That's normal for her, but it's even more apparent right now. Justin should be able to work under difficult conditions, right? He's used to running errands for you, after all. I could really use him for this. Wait a second, you're not by any chance talking about a recent string of kidnappings? While we were busy trying to make sense of everything, Justin managed to uncover several kidnapping cases put the whole city on edge. I'm not sure about the specifics, but according to the rumors going around, people in the southern part of the city have been going missing. It's actually quite a tricky situation. The area is so vast that even if the police were to step up their night patrols, it would be impossible to protect such a large area completely. I don't know how much truth there is to all of it, but it's a hot topic of discussion on the forums I use. People are panicking. At least you seem to be paying attention to other channels than the TV. Scarlett raises her eyebrows. The main problem with this case has been the delayed response. By the time the department got involved and started actively investigating, more than 20 people had already been reported missing, and that number is still rising. The city's just too big to always keep an eye on everything. Although Wuhan Road is somewhat quiet, it's still one of the busier areas of the city. The fact that I spent the whole of last year hiding at Hermitage without anyone noticing says a lot about the city's sparse police force. I really can't tell, is this guy like... Is the police like actively searching for him? Is that why he's in here? Or is he like physically bound to the place? I cannot tell from the way they keep explaining it. Most of the victims are beggars and vagabonds, poor people with no place to stay, but there are also a few reports of young men of good standing who were originally abducted. Trust me, you wouldn't believe how chaotic the situation is at the precinct. The police are in way over their heads. If the case keeps developing in this direction, sooner or later they'll be forced to hold a TV conference. Scarlett looks exhausted and frowns at the thought. I just have to take your word for it. Hey, wait a second. You said were originally abducted. What does that mean? Many of them have turned up again. Scarlett slowly takes a sip of her warm coffee. Her words are more of a sigh than anything. Most of them were missing for more than 48 hours, but they were then found in various parts of the city within a week, sometimes less. All of them conscious and without any injuries, all missing organs. The big problem here is that none of them can remember what happened during the time they were missing. They have no recollection of it whatsoever. Since they turned up again, it would have been possible to keep a lid on the whole case, but a mole in City Hall must have leaked it to the press, and it ended up on the front page of the newspaper. She spreads the newspaper out in front of me, clearly annoyed. Collective amnesia and kidnapping victims. What is the police keeping secret? These damn media people. They write anything to get attention, no matter how low they have to stoop. These are different from regular kidnappings. The fact that the victims show up again unharmed raises concerns about the perpetrator's true intentions. Sure, it's good news for the relatives and for the officials working their case, but it raises many questions. We need to find out the reason for the collective amnesia. This is more than simple brainwashing, I'm sure of it. I put down the newspaper. It's easy to see how much this case is eating away at Scarlett. Those people who turned up again, are they showing any other symptoms? No, none whatsoever. They underwent full psychoanalysis and physical examination. There are no abnormalities except for the missing memory. No signs of violence, no traces of drugs or other substances. That doesn't sound possible, does it? Memories for dinner. You think I'd be asking for your help if it did? No need to get all right up. I'm just trying to help you. You just sit around in your comfy chair all day. Don't try to make yourself sound cool. Hey, it's not like I have any time to myself, okay? You don't know how much work it is to take care of a bookstore this big. Are you done crying? Please continue. Basically, Justin has experience working with you, which means he'll be more understanding and patient. Someone like him will be better suited to investigating this case than me. He'll obviously have to agree to this himself. He owes me a favor, but I won't make any decisions in his name or push him to do something he's not on board with. Oh my god! Baba, thank you so much for the gifted subs! Thank you! Thank you! Gift sub times! Woo! Thank you. Oh my god. I didn't know it took the thing this long to show like to show up and play. Yep. Alright. And a pad for you. That being said, since you want his help, what's your opinion on the previous case? If I give more, we'll get this for like the whole stream. Yeah, kinda. I'm guessing that's what would happen, yeah? I don't know. I can't say, really. I don't have much experience in getting gifted several subs in a row. Maybe next time we maybe if I actually do something big, I don't know. But thank you, I appreciate it. Sloppy work all over. The building seems irrelevant now, but I would still like for it to be inspected. 2 senior citizens dead, a group of people who are impossible to talk to. It's a mess. They're playing dumb, probably because they're well aware of the massive trouble they've gotten themselves into. So the case remains largely unsolved. Justin can't be happy with that outcome. Scarlet has fallen silent and no longer seems in a mood to talk about the subject. I turn on the radio in an attempt to fight off the depressing atmosphere in the room right now. There's a harsh contrast between the happy sounds coming from the radio and the irksome the irksome silence in the room. In general, I relish the calm, but this is the wrong kind. I feel as if a strange force is pulling me towards every single weird and unusual event in the city. You've seen streams where the streamer temporarily disabled sub notifications. Oh! I mean, I think the notification in and of itself is not that bad, like it's showing up on the screen, but the sound playing over and over is probably really annoying. At some point. A sudden horrific thought hits me. What if it never ends? Well, I mean, this is a mystery visual novel. Of course it's going to pull you to every single unexplainable thing in the city. Unfortunately, Scarlet's casework has come to an unexpected halt. It's a weird coincidence how, shortly after we discussed how Justin could help her, he's suddenly nowhere to be found. He's not picking up calls and messages don't seem to get through to him. I asked Nico for help, but even she couldn't locate Justin's phone. He probably turned off his phone and cut himself off from the outside world completely. It's annoying, and even my patience has its limits, but at the same time, I can't help but admire his stubborn decisiveness. Or he was the guy we just saw in the beginning of this chapter, probably getting gobbled up by some kind of weird thing. This isn't the right moment to force him to do anything. I even had to stop Nico from using slightly less legal means of contacting him. I sent him a message explaining the current situation in hopes of getting through to him, and that's that. Scarlet had no interest in waiting for a reply. She bought a key and is probably asleep on the couch by now. She really deserves a break. At last, after all of these discussions and intricate case details, I have Hermitage to myself again. I should learn to cherish these quiet moments more. Nico got up uncharacteristically early and left the store in a hurry. For a moment, Hermitage reminds me of exactly how it was just a month ago. I might as well make use of this rare opportunity to get some rest. I dimmed the lights and leaned back. Mr. Store Manager, hello? Is anyone there? Cecile, what a rare sight. After over half a month, you finally remembered to come visit? I'm sorry that... Can I let him in first? It's dark, but in the dim light, I can see that Cecile isn't alone. Another student is standing at the doorstep next to her. Oh, Jesus Christ! No, I'm guessing this is the guy we saw in the beginning of this chapter. That definitely isn't Eloise. And just who might this young fellow be? His name is Zach. He's a classmate. No, a friend, but, well, also a classmate. What? Never mind. Come in, both of you. Don't just stand there. It's getting cold outside. I wave at the two of them, signaling them to enter. Relieved, she tugs at the boy's sleeve to get him to move inside. But he won't budge. Zach, Hey, Zach, come on, move. With a sad expression on her face, Cecile keeps tugging at Zach's sleeve. Cecile, just to make sure you're not still using lilac grass, are you? What the hell? Of course not. Eloise gave all that was left to you for safekeeping, didn't she? It's just that this young man right here looks awfully similar to how you two looked back then when you were under the influence. Huh? You're saying that this is what we were like? That's what I think, at least. Cecile generally doesn't seem to know what's going on. I walk up to the door and to get a better look at the boy, who still hasn't moved an inch. His frame isn't particularly broad, but he doesn't look frail or weak by any standard. It's easy to tell that he's muscular, even as he's standing there with a bent back and sloppy posture, the appearance of someone used to physical work. His fists look rough, with calloused knuckles being the obvious indicator that he's been in frequent fights. His fingers are covered in scars. He might have a good heart, but I never imagined Cecile hanging around with someone like him. It's Zach, right? Listen, buddy, why don't you step inside? Maybe have a warm cup of coffee? You look like you could use one. If you want people to stop and stare, feel free to keep standing outside. Though I can't imagine that's what you want. Zach doesn't respond, but he obviously listened and understood. Little by little, step after step, he moves his legs and slowly enters the bookstore. Huh, so he's the quiet type. Mr. Store Manager, is he going to be alright? I can't promise anything yet. He looks far from alright at the moment. Where did you find him? At the school entrance. When I found him there, he looked even worse, as if he'd seen something horrible. He seemed completely out of it. My first thought was to bring him to you. I hope you know that I'm not a doctor and that this is a bookstore, not a clinic. Anyway, you made the right choice. I reckon other places wouldn't have been of much help. Let's step inside. Could you close the door for me, please? What the hell? No reaction at all. That's bad. I'm on my fourth cigarette already. I stuff it into the ashtray with a loud sigh. Zach still hasn't said a single word since he entered. He just sits there completely motionless with his empty eyes locked on something that isn't actually there. Can we just use the same method we used back then? That was different. Back then I knew you were under the influence of lilac grass, allowing me to treat you accordingly. In his case, we don't know what's wrong, making it hard to find a proper treatment. We can't just guess, so do you know him well? Sort of. We were friends as juniors, but we didn't really keep in touch after we started high school. By the looks of his hands, he must have been in a lot of fights. He's known as a rowdy delinquent. He doesn't come to class very often. If he does, he gets into fights with the teachers most of the time and runs off again. I often see him wrapped in how do you actually say it? Gauze? And bandages? I see. Someone who doesn't shy away from a fight. It's not surprising that he got himself into some sort of trouble. Do you know where he usually hangs out? I'm not sure. We sat next to each other sometimes, but he never talked about himself. I've heard other people say that the gang he runs with has a hangout spot not too far from the school. Somewhere around Nanshan Park, I think? Hearing the name of the park instantly puts Zack in a state of high alert. Huh? Zack, calm down. Is there something at Nanshan Park? He still does not utter a single word, but vigorously nods his head. I see. It must have been something truly awful to put you in such a state of shock. Zack continues to nod, but still can't seem to focus his eyes. Can you tell me what happened? I know you probably don't want to think about it, but it's important. There's not much Cecile can do to help at this point. Any further information will have to come from Zack himself. But trust me, there are ways we can help you. We can get to the bottom of this, but you have to work with me. You understand that, right? So, what did you see? I can't remember. Last night, when I left the internet cafe, they chased after me. I don't remember ever seeing them, but maybe they knew me from somewhere. I ran into Nanshan Park trying to hide from them. I know good spots there, but then there was that voice. Zack looks strange and isn't making much sense anymore. Cecile and I exchange confused looks. Those footsteps. Click, click, wet, heavy steps. The way it spoke, so strange, I couldn't understand. I've never heard something like that before. It was so disgusting. Everything was so strange. I felt like I was drowning. I couldn't breathe. I was drowning, and then Zack suddenly starts moving as if a wave of adrenaline swept over him. His eyes dart around the room nervously. His muscles tense and his fingers twitch as he starts to tremble. It's hard to tell what exactly he saw last night based on his incoherent description, but it must have left him absolutely terrified. Something has to be done to help him before he completely loses it. I try to calm him down, but he keeps shaking and I can't seem to get through to him. Zack, please wake up. Don't do this to me. Cecile grabs Zack's arm, but it doesn't seem to have much of an effect. What can we do? He seems... How should I know? Anyway, let's try to calm him down and... Out of my way. I can feel the impact of Scarlett's vicious slap just by watching it happen. Jeez! Cecile shrieks, but then she notices that Zack's eyes are focused again. He doesn't seem to know what's going on and touches his red cheek. What happened to me? Don't worry, you just dozed off for a moment. Scarlett's answer is swift and nonchalant. She makes it seem as if it was Cecile or me who just stormed into the store and slapped Zack in the face. I feel like crying and laughing at the same time, so I turn my attention to Cecile, who is still panicking a little. There's a fairly large green box in the bottom drawer of the big cabinet upstairs. Could you do me a favor and fetch it for me? Cecile blinks, finally understanding that she can do something to help. She runs off, disappearing in the back of the store. A box? What's in it? Some goodies that you left behind? I cleared them away after Eloise woke up. Whatever happens, it has nothing to do with me. Do you have a better idea? No. Go ahead. Zack ignores her comments. He hasn't fully recovered from the shock and still looks shaken up. My head hurts. You still can't remember? I'm sorry, my mind's blank. Don't force yourself. Cecile is getting you some medicine. Don't worry about it. She knows how to use it if it's working. She probably won't answer if you ask her about it though. What? Trust me on this, if you don't get a good night's sleep tonight, you won't see the sun tomorrow. And if all you see is bright and white light, that's a whole other story. Zack frowns, obviously hesitant. It's understandable, since you don't just accept a gift from a stranger, especially if you have to swallow it. However, he seems more sensible than Cecile and Justin, and after a long sigh, he nods at me. If I want more information from the boy in front of me, letting him get a good night's sleep is the best approach. Although we didn't make any progress today, acting on impulse will just cause trouble, and I need some time to prepare. Preparation is key. It's getting late. Do you have a place to sleep tonight? Zack lifts his weary face in reaction to my abrupt question. I can go home? That's good. Come back tomorrow then. Zack doesn't say anything and nods once more. Is this it, store manager? Is store manager? It looked like what you were asking for. Huh? You thought right. Go help him with it. Okay. Thank you for your help. She said thank you even though you didn't do anything at all. Cecile remembered her past self, but now it's her turn to help others. So what's next? Do you think there's a connection? I lock eyes with Scarlett. As expected, she looks as serious as ever. Strange footsteps, unintelligible languages, some sort of scary presence, and memory loss. God loves to play with us mortals who struggle in the dark. Do you know a priest who can help us exorcise evil spirits? Nothing good, but plenty of bad. Luck really doesn't seem to be on our side lately. Well, I kind of doubt you're gonna find someone, but sure. Worth a try, I guess. What a surprise! More trouble. Scarlett came up with some new ideas after Zack's visit, meaning she only stayed at Hermitage a short while before returning to her investigative work. I would love for her to find some time to rest and recover, but that's not what she wants to hear. She works tirelessly and it's almost impossible to stop her. It's just that she's one of the very few people who can help with the current problem. Having sent out Nico, I've pretty much played all my cards for now. Everything's a mess. Please call me back. I'm lucky. Justin didn't leave me waiting for long. I heard you were looking for me. Yeah! Yes, are you still out of town? Yes, I am. Anyway, can you come by the store tomorrow? No problem. I wanted to tell you something, but I'll just tell you once I'm back. This means we'll be able to get some things done tomorrow. I let out a relieved sigh and tried to cheer myself up. Internet. Barely happens that you suddenly have less troubles, right? Oh, yeah. Oh, updates to this one. We've read this. Right? No. What? Didn't we read this? Into the means of social was a murder occurred years ago. I know we read the part that was explaining the major case, right? Oh, whatever, I'll just read it. 20 years later, a major case from 1995 has finally been solved. 1995 felony case solved after 20 years. 6 p.m. October 12th, Liu Chengqin, a member of the Mato Municipal Crime Investigation Team in the Eastern District of Mato, is left with mixed feelings. He has finally met the person he's been looking for the last 5 years. The person was also wanted for a multitude of crimes, and police have been searching for him for over a decade. The man's expression is grim, his face gaunt, and not really one that draws attention, but it is without a doubt the face of a man who committed a murder 20 years ago. Back then, on November 26, 1995, Miss Wang, a 56-year-old resident in Mato, was found severely injured in her house and died after having been rushed to the nearest hospital. After receiving the report, members of the Yongkang Police Public Security Bureau came to investigate the crime scene. They found blood-stained signs of a struggle and several grievous injuries on the woman's body. The police later confirmed that it was murder. The Bureau quickly established a task force and deployed a large number of officers to investigate the case. In 2012, Liu, I'm probably pronouncing his name horribly wrong, entered the Yongkang Public Security Bureau by means of a social recruitment test and was assigned to a special branch focused on the most difficult cases. It was then that I'm just gonna call him Alex, was informed of the murder that occurred years ago. The murder's cruel methods and him still not having been caught inspired LX to pick up the trail and catch the culprit. 5 years passed and LX, now a member of the Special Investigation Team, never once forgot about the case or stopped looking for clues. On the afternoon of October 12th, he received word that the suspect had been involved in a crime in southern Mato. Accompanied by members of the task force, it was hard for him to hide his excitement at the thought of finally closing the case after all these years. The suspect, who had remained hidden and eluded police for 22 years, is now in custody. Gu Hulong, who's currently working as an instructor within a criminal investigation team, was one of the first to actively participate in this case's investigation. He recalls, "It was a bleak time. We were working day and night trying our very best to find clues. We were able to conclude that the suspect is male, but every single time we got close, the trail just vanished. It was highly frustrating and took a lot out of us." I remember reading the part where it says the trail just vanished. Oh well. In addition, the instructor also mentions a local legend, a folk hero of sorts who quietly helped to advance the case over the years. Mr. Leng Yongxiang, the retired cadre who is well known in criminal investigation circles, has never given up on helping people and took it upon himself to aid in finding the criminal. "He's someone we've always been able to count on," Guo Kulong says. "Whenever we encountered difficulties, he was always able to give us advice that kept us going and led us down new paths we wouldn't have seen otherwise." After a while, it was discovered that Lang Yongxiang and LX had conducted a secret investigation of their own to find out more details about potential targets. As it turns out, the work was a full-on success. The Provincial Public Security Bureau sent out a special message congratulating everyone involved on solving the case after such a long time. It has been reported that in the past 12 months, Mr. Lang Yongxiang has cracked another 4 unsolved cases in Mato while still actively working on others. This marks the 13th year in which all citywide homicide cases have been solved, which is proof of how hard our law enforcement works to guarantee our safety. Well, you know you can just make one post instead of splitting it all up, don't you? This sounds like a crime novel awesome. So many things to think about here. It's like some superhero flick. Just let all those retired badasses come back and watch how they clean up the whole city in one swoop. Guess the older generations just got that certain something, Mr. Lang for the win. Better let the vets do all the work from now on, they seem more capable. Definitely a legend in his own right, yeah, but he's still just human and not too many people recognize him when he's out and about. The ones that do mostly let him be when they see him on the street. I heard that he took in an apprentice, but apparently things didn't work out as planned between them. Not really surprised, to be honest. Some guys just have that lone wolf mentality. What an absolutely insane dude. Most definitely a living legend. Why isn't that guy more famous? Dig deeper. Awesome how this was solved after 20 years. I find it very interesting that our main characters all have very westernized names, and everything that is on here is still very much, yep, that is a Chinese name, the way it was originally, probably. But a loud noise is being reported all over the internet today. Hint, the author has been banned and this comment has been removed automatically. Probably a flat tire, or was it the actual sound of something breaking a sound barrier? Was it really that loud? Sounds made up. I was taking an afternoon nap, so I didn't notice anything. Someone nearby is frying rice balls. The residents say they didn't hear anything at all. Bro, it was so loud that you could hear it for miles. Hint, the author has been banned, this comment has been removed automatically. Oh my god, there was a loud bang yesterday afternoon, but I just thought it was the wind. I think I saw the same post a few months ago and even read the same responses. I mean, it happens. Chickenbox.com. We definitely read this one before. Honest, meaningful discussion every day. The author admits to being depressed, you know. This is new. Now that we finished our discussion, let's talk about the Chickenbox hosts. I think they're all interesting and are very distinctive. The diehard Fallout fan Shyman, the Gears of War loyalist HQ, Ubisoft boy, the hardcore sci-fi fan Seal, the Capcom power player No Regrets, and a welcome new addition, the god of social sciences Professor. Can somebody please list all the games that those guys are playing right now? I'm sorry, we're all non-gamers. You can discuss games at Chickenbox though. For wins, those hosts are useless. Are you honestly dragging Seal through the mud right now? I saw a social media page that said, I don't play games, so leave me alone. I guess that leaves me only one option, right? Well, you can't really say that I don't play games. I've been playing on and off, but I definitely couldn't write detailed articles about it. Okay. Oh god. I discovered something odd in my research recently. So I'm doing research on illegal immigration and dove headfirst into all the literature and studies I could possibly find. I don't get out much anyway, so I've had a lot of time to piece some stuff together. We all know about the situation with illegal immigrants in the South. No passport, and they pretty much vanish right after arriving with no record of them left. But I mean, you can't just vanish into thin air like that, can you? They have to make a living somehow. So the question that really bothered me was, where do all these people go? To find that out, we have to take a look at various archived demographic files as well as police records scattered across many different regions in order to establish a connection. I often analyze these sorts of things and occasionally find people who share my interest in the subject matter who then tag along in order to help with the research. It was going pretty well, routine stuff quite frankly, but then I noticed something that seemed off. According to a theory based on professionally conducted college-sponsored studies, there should be a few circular migratory routes back and forth in a southern region between the coastal areas and inland regions. Moving from city to city to work part-time, just as their predecessors did before them, these people start operating small businesses, accumulating wealth to then finally return back to the coast and live a comfortable life without any financial worries. This theory is pretty much considered a fact nowadays, since it's been the subject of a huge amount of studies over the years. However, when I followed the familiar patterns, I found several other migratory routes in the surrounding area, and I discovered something very strange. Along those other routes, several statistics displayed irregular changes. For example, the number of crimes in a row of cities from east to west should be increased by 3% per city on average, but I've noticed a sudden 6% spike along the way, as if something provoked a sudden increase out of nowhere. This is obviously put simple. If you look at the graph, it's more of a U-shape, but the fact remains that the statistics seem to have been manipulated, or at the very least are being withheld on purpose. Everything else lines up perfectly with the theory, so these sudden changes stick out like a sore thumb. It's very, very scary, to be honest. I discussed my troublesome findings with a renowned professor, and he couldn't find a reasonable explanation for it either. People I work with are in an uproar because of this. We're all mystified. So I wanted to ask you guys, whether there are some strange traditions in the South that we don't know about? Maybe ones that could explain the surge in crime numbers. I can't see any other factor that could explain this, and it's more than a statistical aberration, I'm sure. Can't say I'm impressed, sounds far-fetched. Never cared much for immigrants anyway. Hey, fire me dear, keep your xenophobic bullshit to yourself. What, can I say how I feel? Same old dilemma, obey or die. Can I want to post it to send me a private message? I'm very intrigued. I sent you one. Why not leave analytics to professionals? Send me a PM too, please. Send me a PM too, please. Guys, chill out with the hate, no need to be angry. What happened to this place? What a toxic cesspit. There was one guy who was like, "Oh, I don't care for immigrants. Toxic." Paintings on silk canvases are really undervalued. Hey guys, I took a trip to the Hunan Museum today and saw some pretty awesome paintings there. The thing is, they weren't silk canvases. It was breathtaking. I didn't even know something like that existed. The one that caught my eye was called T-shaped painting on silk from Thum. So what's on them? Historic events, landscapes, nature? Lots of historical info can be gathered through things like that. Not everything was written down back then. It's pretty impressive, yeah. My grandma was born during the Qing dynasty. More recently, but still. I mean, we often forget how long all those dynasties lasted. It's not like it's that far in the past. A third sun value check will happen once stamina reaches 50. What is this one? What is the fucking gacha report doing in between different posts all the time? I'm so... Check out the TV series National Treasure if you're interested in that sort of thing. The episode's dedicated to what you're talking about, and it really goes into detail about old tombs too. It's weird, sometimes those remnants from the past seem less like fantasy or history and more like sci-fi. I've seen 2 mummies from the Tang Dynasty in the Lucian Museum before, and they were dressed in garb similar to modern clothing. Totally, those ancient garments had so much style and would be appropriate even for modern casual purposes. Today's fashion industry should take notes. I've been thinking about hanging the 4 symbols in my house as decoration. I think they're beautiful, but I only ever seen them as murals on graves. Go for it! The Egyptians, for example, used the popular lion figure not just for gravestones, but also decorated their homes with it, so it's not like you're the first one to think that way. Oh, I remember that because of the awesome soundtrack that was used in an episode of National Treasure. I took a trip there during my high school years. Right as I was standing in front of the mummy of Shin-Chu, there was a massive power outage. Everything went dark and cold, but I swear I could feel her staring at me and she was giving off this faint cold glow. I didn't know about Cthulhu back then, but now that I think about it, that probably saved me. I wasn't perceptive at the time, so I probably couldn't see anything that wasn't meant for me. I think I remember hearing this dark, deep growl in the darkness though. I can top that, dude! The real horror lies within those little burial dolls they put with the mummies. The museum is dimly lit and located directly inside the actual tomb, which makes it the scariest place I've ever been to in my life. Props to the staff for staying sane. Doesn't sound like my kind of place. Those paintings are quite good. Many techniques used in their creation were taken from the works made during the Warring States period. The level of detail is much higher, but it's only noticeable on the big panoramic ones or when close-ups are shown. The flow of the lines is remarkable in itself. Okay, nothing that's going to help with our new monster. Cool. I'm ready to come back. The bank will have to wait. Did you both get home safely? Yeah, things went well. It's a pretty shoddy low-rent apartment, so I guess he doesn't live with his parents. Well, we'd both be lying if we said we didn't already expect something along those lines. So did you notice anyone following you? No, and I paid close attention all the way. What are you so worried about? There's just something about those people that bothers me. Anyway, it's fine. You should come back. It's dangerous out there at night. Then you probably shouldn't spring stuff like this on me out of nowhere. Who did she go with? Alright.
Halloween time! Halloween. Halloween time. Halloween time.
We like Halloween. I like Halloween. Where's my game? Although the early morning light from the rising sun already made him open his eyes, the shadows within him firmly remain. Another day. He's already finished his daily morning walk through the park. For some reason, the eyes gazing at him make him feel a piercing pain, as if pins and needles are violently being jammed through his skin. Even a single casual glance is enough to cause this intense, painful sensation. He tries to steady his breath, tries to stay calm and focus on getting rid of the nightmares lingering in the back of his mind, but it's futile. This is different than being stared at, different than being the subject of gossip while people whisper behind your back. Zack knows he has a bad reputation, but he doesn't let that bother him and doesn't complain about it. This is the first time he's ever felt this type of maliciousness towards him. His only instinct is to run. Anywhere is better than this place. But where to? No voice, no response. Not a single supposed friend who picks up the phone. He understands what's going on. You can't spend years on the streets and remain naive. It just doesn't mix well. But now that things are actual reality and no longer hypothetical, the sadness is overwhelming him. He's not prepared for this. Going home. Not an option. It's not a place he ever wants to return to. There's not a choice but to keep walking, one step at a time. Just because a journey is short doesn't mean it's going to be an easy one. The sun rises and shines, emanating radiance without a clue as to what's going on beneath its bright rays. It's around 9 o'clock. Usually Hermitage doesn't expect guests at such an hour, but today's business hours are a little different. Good evening! How are you doing? Cecile and Stag are standing in the store. Cecile seems to be in good spirits. Stag's condition is a little better than yesterday, but he's still shaking up. He seems a little uncomfortable. Maybe he isn't accustomed to being a guest. You good? How are you? I'm good. Whatever he's thinking won't change what needs to happen next. Alright. You look better. Did you take your medicine? Yeah, thank you. I'm feeling a little better already. I still can't sleep though. I'm not sure if putting that patch on him is such a good idea. I apologize. I was lying before. According to the doctor, that thing doesn't really promote a good night's sleep. What wasn't a lie, however, is that it's for his own good. I'm feeling a little numb. That's pretty much what I expected. I pick up another cigarette and artfully avoid the strange glance Cecile throws in my direction. Now that you're a little calmer, we have a chance to talk about the whole thing in more detail. You were in a really bad state yesterday, so I'd like you to tell us all about what you encountered throughout the evening in as much detail as possible. Smoke? No, I'm good. I can tell he's a smoker, or maybe used to be. When he hesitantly extended his hand while thinking about taking a cigarette, I noticed his slightly yellow nails. You've probably already heard about my current situation, right? Most of it, I guess. You don't seem to go to school much? That's right. Things just aren't going too well. Well, what do you plan on doing? Cecile, remember that guy everyone used to call Fatty? The one who used to wait for me in front of the school when I was a junior? Big guy, strong, gassed a lot? Yeah, that's the one. We're a team, sort of? It's been over 2 years. Actually, it's been more than 2 years. The guy was my childhood friend. Kinda. Anyway, there's been some recent developments and I ran into some trouble. What kind of trouble? It's just a way of getting by. All I need to do is call on favors from people every now and then. I'm not the best at conversations, but it's a good opportunity. However, he's my supervisor of sorts. He's been keeping an eye on me, making sure I don't run off to places I shouldn't run off to, so I've been staying with him lately. So things haven't changed. That's right. Trust me, if I had a choice, I wouldn't stay with him. Anyway, the day before yesterday, around 3 or 4 o'clock in the afternoon, we were gonna hit up an internet cafe to play some games. Ultimately, the 2 other guys never showed up and didn't even answer the phone. Left me hanging. I say you went to his place. No, what do I care? I was gonna enjoy myself. I kept playing until around 7 or 8. Still no reaction from him, so I got a little worried. You know how things have been out here, especially when it gets dark. But we haven't really caused any trouble, at least not recently, so it was unlikely that he'd been picked up by a patrol or something. Just as I was thinking that, some jerks waltzed in and started harassing me, calling me names. That's when I chased you through the streets and you hid in a nearby park? Yeah, that's sort of our hangout spots out of the city. I know the place pretty well, all the trails and hiding spots. If they blindly chased you into your own territory, they can't be too familiar with the situation, right? That's why it's weird. I thought about it again last night and I haven't really seen them before. Of course, in a fight it's impossible to remember everyone's face. Anyway, I hid. I'm not some kind of alpha wolf. I won't act a fool just to prove something. Sure, there's days where you just wait for someone to look at you the wrong way, but man, those guys that chased me, you could tell they're bad people. Neither me nor Fatty would ever hang out with guys like that. You're talking about all of this in a very nonchalant way? 2 years of this crap and you get used to it all. Zack looks as unconcerned as one can look while talking about gang brawls. A guy like him is reckless and probably wears the chaos he causes like a medal of honor. And then any other circumstances, I would have stopped showing goodwill by now. So you managed to hide, escaping the group that chased you, but not the other thing. That's right. Oh, and by the way, I realized yesterday that I got a text from Fatty while I was running away. Let me show you. Cecile and me both lean in to check his phone screen. Run. Did Fatty call the guys who chased Zack around? Although we can't rule out the possibility, judging from what Cecile and Zack have told me, him and Fatty seem to be on good terms. Still, he was at least aware of the situation, yet he didn't come to Zack's aid. According to Zack, they haven't been getting into much trouble lately, so it's a strange time to pick a random fight. I take a closer look and see that the message was sent around midnight. Even if Zack had seen it earlier, the whole thing happened at around 8, meaning it wouldn't have been of much help to him. If that's the case, I'm afraid I can only draw one very unpleasant conclusion. The same thing must have happened to Fatty. There also yep. Zack and Fatty both fit that description. If something happened to Fatty, he might be in the hospital. Not for long though, as they wouldn't want to carry such a financial burden for long. I'm not afraid of the kind of people who send blackmail letters, it's the ones who remain silent that worry me. Rumors of kidnappers have spread throughout the city, but this is by no means the worst of it. The trail left by the visionary society was much more subdued, but the consequences were much more serious. Zack, apart from you and Fatty, who else knew you'd be at that internet cafe?
Thank you for the posture check. Nice.
Huh? Well, truth be told, I didn't really talk to people about it. You know, I don't like being around others all that much. So apart from Freddy, only one person could have known, I guess? Who would that be? Another juvenile from the school next door. His name is Jeremy. We found out that we were taking the same way home, so we started hanging out together. He was supposed to meet me at the cafe. But you said you were at that place all alone the whole evening? Man, that guy's brain is Swiss cheese. It wouldn't surprise me if he just forgot about it. I wouldn't have even bothered to come, but he told me he'd invited Fatty too, so that's why I said yes. So we know each other well. I mean, it's whatever. We see each other like twice a month. He usually hangs around with the other guys. And yet the day before yesterday, he went out of his way to call you instead. I don't want to make any unfounded assumptions, but you mentioned earlier that he was the one who called you and your friend Fatty. Yeah, that's right. Zack's voice is trembling as he speaks, and he never showed up that night. Well, like I said, plus you didn't recognize any of the guys who came after you. Taking all of that into account, the only person who could have found Fatty that night and tipped off those unknown strangers would have been... Fuck this. Cecile's eyes widen at the sudden outburst of cursing while Zack jumps up angrily. That son of a bitch! Zack! Hey, Zack, come down! Zack disappears out of sight while I'm still speaking, though I highly doubt my words would have been effective anyway. I can't even be sure it's him yet. What a temper. Cecile looks even more surprised than me. He's always been like this, unable to think straight, always acting impulsively whenever he's angry. Once he even punched a teacher. You could have told me that earlier. Yeah, I'm sorry. Never mind, we'll figure out how to get to him later. I scratch my hand and reach for my crumpled pack of cigarettes. It's always hot-headed guys like him that cause me the most trouble. He's way too young to play tough like that. He should act his age. I really don't get along with people like that. Aww. It's alright. If it wasn't the guy he's planning on beating up now, well... Whoops. Cecile is trying to pinpoint Zack's whereabouts. Life on the streets has its own rules, its own language. It's hard for Cecile to fit in. An ordinary, disciplined girl whose life revolves around the arts and diligent study doesn't quite fit the profile. With Nico's help, this might be easier to solve simply because she's more accustomed to that lifestyle. Unfortunately, Scarlett bored her to investigate the archives, so she's unavailable at the moment. I can only hope and pray that Zack's hot-blooded temper doesn't cause any more problems. He might not realize the gravity of the situation, but Zack's involved in something very dangerous. I just hope he comes down fast enough. Rash decisions are the last thing anyone needs right now. Technology. These days turning off your phone is the equivalent of vanishing from the face of the earth, it seems. Come on, give me a break. Justin steps to the door. The detective face seems a little colder and a lot less expressive than usual. And also, I seem to have even more trouble reading than I usually do. Holy shit. Maybe something made him smile, maybe he's in a bad mood, maybe both, but either way it's not good news for me. It's just one mess right after the other. Can I ever catch a break? I can't help but sigh. It's times like these that make me admire Scarlett and her stoic attitude. She can laugh and joke while the world around her is burning. It's admirable. So, number one detective, what news do you bring? Sure you don't want to go first? Let's go through this one at a time. You start. Fine by me. He looks pretty bad, like there's a veil of worry shrouding his face. The things he experienced still haunt him, which is obvious from the fact that he looks as if he's just seen a ghost. I'm starting to worry about what he might say and whether it would be smarter not to let him speak. Because of the whole incident, my boss encouraged me to take a prolonged vacation, which was a roundabout way of firing me. So I was suddenly left with only a few odd jobs from my past connections. One of those jobs was investigating an area along the city's outskirts. The details in the job description sounded very concerning. Let me just cut in and say it's amazing you still have the courage to get involved in these things voluntarily. Can't go against my nature, you know? Plus, there's been rumors of a cult becoming increasingly active in that region. All evidence points to the rumors actually being true. The locals looked scared and worried, as if they were afraid of something. I managed to dig up information about a strange group of outsiders that moved in over the last 2 years. Strange group, you say? Ever since they arrived, several disappearances have been reported in the area. There's no evidence that any of it had anything to do with them. They weren't at the scene and they had no connection to the victims. However, their arrival is the only thing that has changed in that area recently. Yeah, that only makes them sound even more suspicious. That's just what the locals say, but no professional investigation was ever conducted. So all I have is hearsay. In places like that, there are always people ready to talk. I assume you've already found someone more than willing to spill all the details? Justin shrugs as if to quickly dismiss my attempt at flattery. The group came from a place called Yu Village on the southern coast, and their surnames are almost identical. That points to traditional and well-preserved clan structure. What about their age? Are there many young people with them? Yes, quite a few in fact. In rural villages with an intact clan structure and hierarchy, people rarely move away all at once. In the rare case that they do, the families inevitably exchange their surnames. Well, that's not the case here, which would indicate that not much time has passed since this group started migrating. You're right, that makes sense. What could cause such a large group of people to relocate? It's not easy to travel someplace new with that many people. It isn't something you do for fun after all. There seems to be a big fish in the industry who is hiring people from his old hometown as laborers. But that doesn't sound like some gigantic type of business. It's still better for them than back home. This is a big city with lots of opportunities after all. He owns a building in the southern part of the city. It's pretty impressive and the money involved in that piece of real estate is mostly unaccounted for. Can that be traced by going through the building's owner's assets? Yep, and it isn't even difficult. He owns Sungeon Building and is very active in the real estate sector. Many bestsellers have been published about him and his sudden rise to riches. So you suspect that he's actually from that village? He never mentioned his origins even once. Such a large group of people all coming to the same place at the same time for employment, there has to be a reason for that. Furthermore, there are rumors of strange statues of Guanyin in his office, which, in light of what's been happening, is very suspicious. But that's pretty common, especially in the southern coastal regions. Guanyin is part of many religions there. It's not really a surprise to see such a statue in his office, especially if he's from there. You're right, but I'm just not convinced yet. His expression turns more brooding and ominous. What's the matter? I think I may have seen that strange version of Guanyin with my own eyes. He takes out a picture and shows it to me. The photo was clearly taken in secret. It's dimly lit and the outline of a statue is barely visible in the image. Even with such crude quality, the photograph is still overflowing with a sense of distortion, as if desperately squeezing its way into my eyes. It really is a very unusual Guanyin statue. Since ancient times, Guanyin has been portrayed with multiple arms. However, this statue is different. Each arm has a strange softness to it, like tentacles on an octopus. Stretched out like that, it's hard to tell how many joints the arms actually have. Details on the face are hard to make out since most of it is hidden in shadow. I can make out a sinister smirk and something resembling bite marks at the corners of the mouth. It's very unsettling, enough to send a shiver down my spine. I reach out and turn the photo upside down before placing it under the ashtray, gesturing for Justin to continue. I'm sure you know what I'm trying to say. It's not a good habit to judge people by their appearance, but I really can't lie to myself and act like everything's fine with that photo. Justin nods in agreement. I had to dive right in. I couldn't let it go. That's why my phone was turned off over the last 2 days. Field work? That's right. I grew closer to the people from the village and found out that they call this spot sweet Bodhisattva. But, oh my fucking god. Great Mother. That's strange. It doesn't sound like an appropriate name. I think I've heard the name somewhere else before. Yeah, we read a book about her, and then I went off about how I read a book that also mentioned the Great Mother that's connected to mermaids. Right? I had the same feeling, and I'm not even familiar with folklore. So all of this was fairly recent. Most of the new arrivals are young people who are able to work, and many don't take the older family members with them.
Thank you for the pad and the hydro time.
The few older adults are very not at all talkative. It took me a while to find a kid who was willing to talk. A kid? And you sure the information is reliable? I have my ways, and kids are very bad liars. I think I've been doing this job long enough to notice if someone's lying. You can't just go around intimidating children. You do know that, right? Come on, who do you take me for? I just feed him candy until I talk, all the trick in the book. Got some information out of the kid, but many of my questions remained unanswered. The grown-ups obviously don't share everything with their children or involve them in their matters. That's understandable, but it's a lot better than nothing. Yeah, the clues already paint a clear picture. Oh? How so? I didn't want to stay for too long. The kid needs your sleep after all. Before I left, however, I asked him about the candy I'd given him. I said, is it good? It's delicious. It's a lot better than fish. That was his answer. And then he added, the fish is okay, but not if it's raw. I was baffled and thought I'd misunderstood him, so I quickly asked him what he meant. The kid said that his dad wanted him to eat raw fish every couple of days to get used to the taste. Justin looks very uncomfortable as he recounts the conversation. I can vaguely imagine a picture in my mind, a young child trying to gnaw on raw fish with a mouthful of blood. Getting used to the taste? Raw fish? Yeah, but his dad has been very busy at work lately, coming home late every day. Because of that, it hasn't been happening as often these last 2 weeks. Does his father work with the other people from the village as well? I don't know, but by the looks of the kid, I guess his family isn't rich. You are, after all, an outsider, and there's a good chance that the boy's family has taught him not to talk to strangers about the family business and such. That wouldn't be unusual no matter where. Yeah, you're right. Oh, there's one more thing. The kid mentioned another grown-up apart from me who recently arrived. Oh? A man dressed in red, missing both his ears. He stayed for a few days and was never seen again afterwards. Every time the child's father came back from meeting up man, he would get very angry, complaining about things like outsiders really don't understand and he doesn't deserve to be here. The boy was especially with an axe? The boy was especially careful around me at first, which made me think I had said something wrong, but after I found out about this, I realized that he was simply worried that I would make his dad just as angry as the other guy did. Sounds like that group doesn't like outsiders, even in a big city such as this. Not long after the man disappeared, many of the boy's other family members started leaving for long periods of time, just like his father, which only started happening over the last month or two. Interesting. I get the general idea. I would have preferred Justin to have taken a spontaneous vacation some other time. Zach's situation probably wouldn't be good enough reason to put Justin's investigation on hold. I'm torn. But it's not the worst of it. Something bigger than a trade-off between two cases, a much more frightening thought, is beginning to creep into my mind. No, not yet. There's a lot more digging to be done. If I'm going to prove anything, I'm going to need more information from Zach. Not yet. What are you talking about? Trust me, you know soon enough. I stopped Justin's question with a look. This group does sound like a piece of work. I'm afraid you might have more on your plate than you expected. It's already getting dark outside, and only a glimmer of light from the edge of the canopy is lingering in the store. Let's hope he sticks around until we find out more. Now that you've explained your side of the story, let me lay some things on you. So there's this weird thing that apparently takes people's memories. I open the door to my smoke-filled room and make a beeline for my cozy old couch. Although I've made several attempts to tidy up in the past, Hermitage always manages to find a way to mess things up. Excuse me. Once chaos prevails, it's even harder to restore any semblance of order. But who cares? Same as always, business as usual. Oh! No, we heard, weren't they? They were recovered. They've all been located, but that's good. But in order to get out, everyone would need to learn how to dive, or they'd need to wait for months until the water recedes. The rescue of your junior soccer team may last a few months, and they're preparing food and other important supplies meant to last for approximately 4 months. Sad news, guys. Turns out we're just a search and no one is saved yet. 10 days and everyone's still alive. I wonder if the divers could bring them out one by one. The problem is, even if you put them into diving suits and everything, because they're like horribly malnourished and absolutely on their last legs if they've already been in there for 10 days, you can't just put them into a diving suit and take them with you, because that would be too much for their bodies, I'm guessing. So first they need to get them back to like healthy and then try to get them out of there. Oh, got in touch with the ad guy. Guys, I hope I find someone to talk to here. I need help. This is online mahjong game and they're not paying out the winnings, always making up some excuse. The advertising guy says they can't send anything because of tech issues. At least that's what he said at first. Now he's saying there's a debt to be paid mentioning some kind of fee that I'm 100% sure wasn't mentioned anywhere. It's basically extortion. What should I do? Take a look at the company history. The admin is going to crack down on this. This is driving away users. What's it even called? Any updates yet? What a scumbag. Anyway, we can find out the guy's real name and get some payback. How do they even have any users left at all? Someone get an admin on this already. What the fuck? Who actually thinks this is smart? You can't get away with stuff like that in this day and age. It's just going to piss people off and drive them away. By the way, guys, off topic. Why is the game's poison tag so strong? OP much? Because it's pretty high, dude, so it's not always the smartest choice. Why are they Hi, weird! Good evening! Why is this one dude just fucking hijacking a post about someone getting ripped off in online mahjong? And then they're talking about sex in a game? What are you talking about? It hits hard, yeah, but there's only a few situations in which it's a valid choice. Use the search engine to check out posts from other users. There are quite a few about this on the forum. How much do they want? I don't know, I found I'll come back later. Okay. Accurate representation of gamers? Honestly? I guess, yeah. Fucking off topic. Can't just hijack someone else's post. I'm good. Ignored the voice crack. The history of DBF plugins in a dog-eat-dog scenario. What? Introduction. Hey guys, I just wanted to clear some things up. Before you ask, I'm pretty involved in GBF. My nickname is, or used to be, The Bishop. And I'm sure some of you know me by that name, whether you're an active member or not. Wait, what's GBF? Are we talking about... We're not talking about Grand Blue Fantasy, the game, right? Plugins in the past. In the beginning, GBF plugins were openly permitted and all sorts of them were easily widespread. Sai was like, if you got a verification going, you're good to go. Simpler days. The plugins at the time were all Chrome plugins because it's open source and easy to download and to make minor changes. If you were around back then, you know nearly everyone used them. The plugin functions include a casino, acceleration and UI shortcuts. Obviously I used them too. Pretty much every bigger chat group about GBF recommended using them for quality of life improvements. They're definitely talking about Grand Blue Fantasy. What the fuck? A major turning point. The next major event was the decision by Cygames to take down the plugin. It happened around August 16th, if I remember correctly. A programmer from Cy revealed that the news and gave a date at which the plugin would be disabled. Many people didn't believe it. Et voila, they received 3-hour bans. Tech-savvy programmers started to look for ways to modify plugins to subvert Cygames' anti-plugin measures. The measures worked as follows. The player performs a series of authentication tests and sends an NDT message back to the server. The detection methods are roughly as follows. It detects if there is a mouse click and then automatically sends feedback to the plugin. That way they can detect if there are irregular or impossible mouse click patterns and button presses. It is worth mentioning here that Viremate was first on a blacklist. They're actually actively talking about fucking Grand Blue Fantasy. The UI is much more intuitive and easier to use with it, so before you point your fingers at me and laugh, take a good look in the mirror. If you hate on it, then most likely only because you've never tried it yourself. With my knowledge of how the countermeasures work, I wrote a key wizard program that mimics actual realistic key presses and mouse clicks. I was afraid to use it since I only used the official Chrome app version of the game. I didn't want to leave evidence. At the same time, I started to use a double open page legal acceleration method. Someone sent a mail asking Sai about it. Sai's answer was that it's discouraged but not forbidden to deal with the MVP chests in the game. Why go slow when there are quicker ways? It's a no-brainer for me. Further points that I like to mention are, even without plugins, you can easily accelerate the game, restrict access to plugins, maybe implement verification codes too, some sort of whitelist for who's allowed to use them. Why stop serious game fans from gaming more? It's in any company's best interest. Pain. In tech forums talking about installing Windows, someone suddenly asked about his broken GPU. Oh god, yeah. The current status. The current plugin environment has ushered in a new era. People aren't open about using them anymore. As far as environment is concerned, I'm sure there are alternatives and upgrades being worked on as we speak. Now some more facts. Well, actually it's Vera made, because her name is pronounced Vera, but okay. My current key wizard has to be operated manually, so you have to sit at your desk. It's more of a minor time saver. The performance is much worse than the one of the Chrome plugin. PM me if you want it, I don't want it to become widespread. It's not easy to use, but still better than what we have at the moment. Too many bans have happened, in my opinion. Stop banning people for trying to optimize your game. Lily has been banned. That's one of the authors of a popular plugin. That sets a bad precedent. If you look at various groups associated with the people being banned, they're the same ones bad-mouthing me and trying to snitch on me on Twitter in order to get me banned. They are no better. Remember that when you read something dragging my name through the mud, at least I wear my heart on my sleeve. The incident! Let me preface this by saying that I don't feel bad morally speaking about anything. I'm not selling anything, I'm not in for financial gain, all I ever wanted was to enjoy the game. Now I also want to expose the people who have some sort of shady agenda covering up with seemingly helpful plugins. What it boils down to is that I was banned for what I was doing after being falsely accused of a whole lot of mischievous activity by various members of groups that have something against my plugin. Luckily, I used a dummy account so my ban didn't cause me to actually lose anything. However, I gained something, and that is the knowledge that there are many snakes lurking among seemingly goodwill programmers, so please just watch out who you trust. I hope you believe me and don't trust people who very obviously try to hide their true intentions by pointing their fingers at others who haven't done anything wrong. The conclusion: from the beginning to the end, this has been a dog-eat-dog scenario. I enjoyed myself while it lasted, and I just wanted to give you a glimpse into the rotten core of Ground Blue Fantasy plugins and how scummy some of the people involved in their creation are. I'm happy to have gone out with a bang, and this hopefully sheds some light on a situation not often discussed publicly. To put it bluntly, Ground Blue Fantasy is boring me right now. You need to find a way to spice things up. Also, I'm sorry for making this such a long post. I can be a little all over the place, lol. By the way, you can attack me all you want, discredit me, but if you do, remember to uninstall Vera Made first. Edit: to add some more drama to it, this was the reaction of the current guy in charge after seeing this post. I would never say that the plugins are hacking, let's call it gray zones. Haha, the nerve. Long but accurate observations all around. You gonna keep playing or wait for changes? At this point, I'm honestly just helplessly addicted to this gacha stuff. I'm gonna be playing for as long as Bishop shares his knowledge, lol. Some modded versions got caught, some don't. At the moment it's really unclear even to so-called pros. Kinda doesn't make sense if you ask me. Either ban Vera Made outright or allow it, not this half-baked stuff we've got going on now. I think another problem is obvious shortcuts for summons, but some of the anti-hacking measures that have been part of recent updates seem to be doing a good job at least, so kudos for that. As far as acceleration problems are concerned, that's not a client-side thing but a server-related one. Some changes have been implemented since KMR took over. Example given, casino presence being toned down. You can see that KMR has a clear vision and more things planned, but sadly not all of those goals line up with what people actually want. The fact remains that even if everyone is playing fairly, the faster the internet speed, the higher the DPS, and in the long run the unfairness and what needs to be smoothed out. Oh, I get what they're talking about! If you're in raids, if you join people in raids in Grand Blue Fantasy, to get the MVP trophy, the MVP chests, you need to be the one who does the most damage, blah blah blah. So if you're the host of a room and you open the room so other people can join it, and you're like, in my case, I would be at the absolute end of my party. Is just like, okay, one more hit and I would be dead, and then I would open the room so other people could join in, and until that moment I would have been the first person in the room, right? MVP chest, because I am the one who does all the damage. I open the room and some level 200 absolute fucking masochist, I guess, comes in, hits my boss like 2 times, and boom, the game is the raid is done. And in the time you open up a room to literally everyone, it's like, it takes a little while to join, and then you need to put all of your attacks in order. And of course, faster your internet is, the the faster you get to join the room, the faster you get to do your stuff. Bum, here you go, here's your MVP chest, and there can be a bunch of stuff in those MVP chests. I get what they're talking about, finally, wow! I was like, what's even the problem here? Like, what? I do not play Granblue anymore, by the way, because it's one of the gacha games I think I have spent the most money on ever, without ever actually understanding how it really works. I'm like level 89. There was a time when I really actively tried to get into it and actively leveled, and I tried to understand what you have to do, and it's just like you need to get into a groove and then kind of just grind every day and build your equipment, blah blah blah, kind of. Not equipment, well, kind of equipment. You have your characters, you build grids, and in those grids you put weapons, and depending on what kind of weapons those are, that's how much damage you will be doing. Like your base character stats and then what you actually do. So there's tier lists for everything, and I never understood what exact part I'd have to grind. I wasn't even upset with the grinding part in and of itself, but despite several people who are still actively very much into Granblue and on top of the meta, I never understood what I'd have to do to actually get somewhere, so I only got to level 89. But I have a bunch of SSRs in there. Oh boy, do I have a bunch of SSRs. It's honestly a shame that I don't use the account anymore, but well, it's better for me in my wallet, so. Gacha games, more like gotcha games for sure. For sure. They made a lot of bank with me. This is weird because most of the serious players in Japan would laugh at the thought of Pyramid being considered cheating. On the subject of acceleration in the server does dictate the upper limit frame, so it still makes the game somewhat fair to play. The advantage of acceleration is still there though, no doubt about that. It allows you to raise the intended cap, so don't give me that crap about it not making much of a difference. Animation cancelling and rapid reloading is very much a real thing. If you use it, at least don't lie to people about it. Makes them think they're playing the game wrong. I think insect summons with poison damage are pretty strong at the moment. Seems like most high-level Chinese players bet on that strategy. Before I get eaten alive, let me emphasize, yes, I use plugins too, but there's a thin red line between improving quality of life and plain old cheating. Pyramid crosses that. Let regular players who simply play the game have their fun. Don't make things unfair by cheating. In a game that's all about luck and the happy feeling that accompanies a good draw, why would you take the luck factor out of the equation? I don't know, man. So many screenshots, even on the official Twitter account, show plugins and scripts running, including Pyramid. It's become somewhat of a norm, to be honest. Many people run scripts and bots in the background. It's always just a bunch of frustrated Fortune users that foam at the mouth at the thought of not being able to keep up. There's bigger problems that need to be looked at. If you really want to promote fairness, don't allow multiple windows to be opened at once. You could trick the network so easily and gain an advantage. Why don't you just play the game the way it's meant to be played? What's the point of cheating in MVP chest raises other than inflating your ego? Please concentrate on fixing the web version first. No more fooling around with mobile. Oh, mood though. I did try to log back in. I have to admit, I still have a browser tab open. In the very, very back of all of my browser tabs, I do still have a tab where I have Granblue open, and there were some free polls some weeks ago. The summertime is always free poll time because of anniversary stuff, blah blah. And one day I actually went in there and tried to, to pull. And then I thought to myself, no, you're done with gacha games. And I tapped out, but I don't close the tab fully because that would mean I would get locked out, and I don't want to do that. You know, maybe one day I'll go back to it, but I'm trying not to. You recently uninstalled Genshin, you're also free now. Honestly, good riddance. I keep saying I will play Genshin again when they release a playable Scaramouche, which is looking more and more possible, considering all of the updates we keep getting in regards to the story, but also I will not actually do it. Not to sound like a hater, but I'm so tired. of all the Genshin content literally everywhere. I do appreciate the good fan art, sure, but there's so much. And so much drama around Genshin where I'm just like, can't you people just play your game and be happy about it? When I was at Dokumi, it was so upsetting. Like, this is an anime convention, but what it felt like was a Genshin convention and then like 2 things on the side. It was Genshin everywhere. Only Genshin. Like, all of the advertising for it as well, only Genshin. You're like, come on, please. I've grown real tired of seeing Genshin stuff. Yeah, for sure. Some designs are nice though. Some designs are nice, but like, yeah. You just dropped everything to replay Yakuza 0. Okay, honestly though, mood. We finished Kiwami 2 last weekend. So like 4, 5 on Saturday. We finished Kiwami 2 on Saturday. And I really want to replay 0 already again. Yeah, I did. It was really good. I really liked it. Though I gotta say the ending was like, okay, you fought the bad guy. Now you're done. Aha! Never mind. That was not the bad guy. This is the bad guy. Haha! Never mind. This is actually not the bad guy. This is the bad guy. And you fight all of these people and you're like, when are we done? How many more bad guys are gonna be behind this person and that person and that person? Also, it's very funny to me how Kiryu seems to have been involved in stuff at such a young age already. It's just coming back to bite him in the ass at like 30. How old is he? 35? 39? Something like that. You played almost every day since shortly after release and leveled. Oh, yeah, for sure. Wow. You kept with it for a long time. I started playing Genshin when it was initially released, like literally the day it went live on our stores. In our stores? Like immediately and absolutely went ham on it as well. But I already didn't feel like doing anything anymore back when the Liu storyline came around. I never even finished that storyline. I've never once fought Child. I'm not even that far into the story because I got so upset with with the basic stuff you can just find without grinding the Abyss stuff and then getting like proper accessories. It's not fun. Fighting the enemies is no fun because I'm so weak. Like I'm the highest I can go without raising my world level. I'm at world level 34. No, that's not even true. Am I? No, I'm at the end of 35. You know, before you can raise it again. And it's just not fun. I would have had to start actually farming for these accessories and artifacts, and I was like, no. So that's when I stopped, and with me stopping, stop full on telling myself, you know what, no more gacha games, with one exception, the one exception being Identity V. I'm like, yeah, you know what, I'm good, thanks. Adventure goes over 8. Nah. But okay, so at least now we know that this weird whatever thread thingy we're on here, apparently they're all playing Granblue. What it boils down to is that mobile games could never be competitive. I thought this was a web-based browser game. It is! Granblue is a web-based browser game which is available everywhere you want it to be because you can play it in your browser. You don't need an app. There is an app you can download, but you don't need it. And honestly, the app doesn't really run that well. You're better off if you just play it in the browser. It's just a web page. And you can play it in Japanese or in English. so it's not region locked. Also, the translation is really good. It has great characters. I also have the manga for it. I really like it. I have a bunch of stuff for it, from it, whatever, but you reached max, so just say finish Genshin. Oh damn! That is wild. Anger is one of the most natural and basic emotions a human can experience. Anger makes you forget the pain and the worries, the dangers you face, and focuses your energy. All your rage is bundled up and ready to let loose. Therefore, along with fear, it is one of the human emotions that we have the most control over. The young man's body language and posture has anger written all over it. It's midnight, and the streets and alleyways are soaked in the shimmering veil of the streetlights. Coincidentally, the people mulling about are soaked too, albeit in alcohol, trying to forget their problems and blinding themselves to the truth that surrounds them. He wants no part of that. Right now, he has other concerns. His target is out there celebrating like a hunter after successfully having killed his prey. Grand Blue Fantasy and Grand Blue are linked. Oh! Yeah, no. The Grand Blue Fantasy without the D, actually. The first time I heard of Grand Blue, I also thought, huh? Until I found out they're not the same thing. Because I thought, oh, yay, Grand Blue Fantasy is getting an anime. Which, it did. It did get an anime. Thank you for the hydro time. Grand Blue has an anime with, I think, 2 seasons or something, and bundled with the 6th and 7th version discs of the show. There's special outfits you can actually unlock in the game, because there's a code with it if you buy the special editions of the anime. And they're actually really nice outfits, which is making me horribly upset. I'm so glad I never actually went out to buy them. I was this close to doing it because I wanted the fucking outfits, but it's really hard to get the codes nowadays, but yeah. The target is friends with him. They're loud, noisy, and attracting attention, lacking any semblance of etiquette. His target is approaching him with dragging steps, slightly wobbling from side to side. He's obviously very intoxicated. The teenager's steps are quick and powerful. He's a man on a mission. No one here seems to have expected him to ever return. Zag, how... He's quickly pushed aside, sending him tumbling backwards. Who is it? What's going on here? Frantic shouting is coming from outside. Zag can feel onlookers staring at him, but he doesn't care one bit. Zag picks up the man, grabs him by the collar, and violently pushes him against a nearby wall. Zag, dude, man, calm down. Zag chooses to react to the plea with a quick, forceful strike of his fist. Crap, please. I was wrong, bro. Nah, don't break that quickly. I'm going to ask you something. I want you to be very clear. Instead of using words, Zag continues to beat his friend and teach him a lesson. Okay. I didn't exactly have a deep, relaxing sleep last. What the shit is that coming out of our wall? You know what? I'm actually gonna turn on that you can see my cursor, because what the fuck? Oh, no. Cursor. Hold on. What is that? Why is it coming out of our wall? Who's trying to break in through our wall? And why? Has this always been there? Have I just not seen it, or is it new? I didn't exactly have a deep, relaxing sleep last night. Zag's sudden departures put everyone on edge. It's exhausting even for me, who is still squirming around in the bookstore. Waiting for Nico and Justin to give me an update gives me ample time to search for anything useful in the information Nico provided me with so far. She's got so many online communities and forums about Mata that there's enough material to guarantee me a headache or two. There have been too many trivial interruptions, and the fractured information circling around my brain is more annoying than somebody constantly whispering in my ear. When the time has come to open the store, I rush to the door in a desperate attempt to save myself from this tedious, stressful investigation. But some things just aren't meant to be. Both of them standing there at the same time. Hi! I just wanted your professional opinion on where he might have run off to. I didn't expect you to actually drag the guy back here. You know the deal. It's better to catch them than having to catch up to them. How'd you pull it off? And I was walking around town pretty aimlessly when I got a call from an old friend in the police force. He had something, shall we say, interesting to share with me. We're very lucky that he still owed me a favor. You really do know all the right people. Anyway, what did he do? Well, it just so happens that our buddy here nearly sent a whole group of guys to the morgue last night. Please tell me that's an exaggeration? I'd be a lot happier right now if they had actually ended up in the morgue. Zach's voice is still full of resentment and anger. He's covered in scratches and bruises, and his clothes look torn. Looking at him makes me glad it wasn't Cecile who found him. You know how much trouble it was to get you out of his situation like that? Thanks. He still seems angry, but at least he appreciates the help he got here. So, did it turn out to be the right guy? It only took a few punches to make him talk. A few? You almost ended up at the precinct. The guy looked like somebody used him for batting practice. He deserved all of that and more. Don't make me repeat myself. Let it go. So what's his angle? What could have possibly happened to make him hold such a grudge against you? It's nothing like that. Actually, it's pretty simple. He sold me out to someone else. I sold you out? Whatever happened to law and order in this city? Somebody's offering a bounty, 20,000 to be exact, for pretty much anyone who can be snatched up without causing an uproar. It's a pretty recent development. I haven't had much contact with anyone else, so I didn't know about it. Well, up until now. And it doesn't sound like he was planning on giving you your fair share. I started putting the pieces together in my head. They call it mining. Makes it sound harmless, like some kind of Bitcoin farming gig. Because Bitcoins are so harmless, right? Turns out it's a lot darker than that, and it's people that are being mined. That's a lot of money. I've heard that there are several other gangs doing this, mostly the established ones who've been around for years. Law enforcement has become a lot stricter lately. No one in their right mind would do something that risky. It's not something you can stop doing once you're entangled in it. To me, it sounded like Jeremy didn't see another way and was pretty desperate financially. An asshole. And that's why he sold you and Fatty out to those guys? I just hate myself for being so blind. I don't know how I ever considered him my brother. Mentioning Jeremy's name is enough to set Zach off again. I can almost feel the heat emanating from him as his anger flares up. Fatty might have gotten away, just like Zach, but there's no way of reaching him. That in itself makes any form of comfort seem like self-deceit. Zach has no clue as to where Fatty could be, and Jeremy swore he didn't know anything, even after being threatened with violence. So far, Fatty hasn't tried to reach out to Zach. Zach might be reckless and impulsive, but he's not brainless. So who's paying the money? And where are those people being taken? I don't know, it sounded like it had something to do with a restaurant. I couldn't understand him too well, more with him missing most of his teeth and all. Bringing us back to your bizarre definition of a few punches. Making me repeat that all of it was completely deserved. Here we go again. I'd like another go at him too. So, anyway, you said something about a restaurant? Many seemingly unrelated clues suddenly begin to interweave. For a moment I have no idea how to tell Zach about Justin's discovery and what I'm thinking about. If he throws another fit, I would know how to stop him. Luckily, you're getting a combo right at this moment. I found it! It's true that there's a restaurant called Country Taste in Ascension building, that's a problem. What? How so? It looks like an old and traditional establishment, but the waiters seem really new and unskilled. When I snuck a peek, they were super lazy and barely wait. I've heard from customers that the menu has drastically changed. Sounds quite bad, the waiters are way too salty. So they changed up the menu, but this place is still called Country Taste? If you ask me, I think the place looks like it was just recently acquired by new owners who haven't figured anything out yet. If you yourself call something chaotic, it has to be serious. I managed to get my hands on the tax records and there's been a sharp decline recently. Something must have changed. Everyone has to eat and restaurants tend to have loyal customers unless they mess up somehow. Also, I took a look at the building's layout and the construction plans. The back door doesn't lead outside, but leads further inside the building instead, which isn't the case for normal businesses. That's not that unusual, is it? It might just be a residential space that was converted into a commercial one. That's not what I'm concerned about. The building's surveillance must be a closed-circuit system, and I can't intercept the signal from outside. Cecile's helping me look for Wi-Fi access inside. Don't overdo it. She's not as experienced as you are.
Don't worry. Anyway, have a look at everything I've gathered that seemed out of place to me somehow. Transmitting now. Over now.
Nico hangs up and my phone starts buzzing. She's sending me a lot of data. Building layouts, ownership registration information, tax records. What did you ask Nico to investigate? Ask her to check something out that I think could be very helpful. Cecile's with her too. You mentioned a restaurant yesterday, and given the current state of affairs, I couldn't really leave it alone. You know how it is. Just as Nico suspected, the record shows that the restaurant has changed hands. Other than that, there's also information linking the group to trouble with the law. This includes a picture of a man who's being taken into the police station. The man's criminal record is long enough to look like a receipt, although there are all minor issues like picking fights here and there. Still, I have a hard time picturing a guy like that working at a restaurant. Justin, you said the villagers mentioned a foreigner wearing rat passing through? That's right, he was wearing a rat and had no ears. At least that's what the kid told me. I think that's something very uncommon, right? Exactly the same as... What are you looking at? Whoa, isn't that Jeremy's gang leader? What? The street tigers have a reputation in the area. They're notorious and have more than 20 members. Imagine that. So many more idiots like him. But I haven't seen that guy lately. Where do you guys see him? I'm starting to rethink my original suspicions. Oh, we are? I don't fucking understand what's going on at all. No, right, this doesn't work with the controller, that's... A brand new case? Outsider's plan. Bingo! It's a shame life is so ungrateful. Finding the right answer is hard work after all. What's up? I think I figured out what it would have taken you had they been successful. You think it's a country taste place, right? Justin has also noticed that something is foul here. He and I are the only ones investigating 2 incidents at the same time, though maybe they're not so separate after all. We don't have any time to lose. You told me about gangsters going around town mining. At the same exact time, a gang leader starts managing a restaurant, and according to Nico, the restaurant doesn't look like it's professionally handled business at all. You think the restaurant's being used as a front? The restaurant doesn't have an actual back door. It leads inside the building instead. Not really a common design choice, is it? It takes a lot of supplies to run a restaurant, and if they all had to be delivered via the front entrance, there's no way they could open up on time. It would take ages. But there's one scenario in which that could be an advantage. If you want to kidnap and hide a lot of people, the biggest problem is how to make the hideout less noticeable. Think about it. The building's owned by a group of people with eccentric beliefs, and the restaurant owner is a known criminal. You have to admit, that does sound like a recipe for shady business. Haha, a recipe. At a restaurant. Justin takes my phone and double checks the building layouts Nico sent. The lower floors are restaurants. There's also some kind of shop in there. From the 7th floor onwards, most of the rooms are rented by various companies as office spaces. With so many people around, it's hard to avoid prying eyes. It looks like somebody improvised in an office building to create retail space instead. The northern part looks residential in comparison. My god, have you ever seen a building put together like that? I can't say that I have. The architect must have been smoking something. Apart from the back door and the lower shops, the only other passage is the one for garbage disposal. It's just one big stuffed place. There's a spark in Justin's eye, but Zach seems to think our assumptions are a little premature. So, they kidnap people from outside, use the restaurant as a cover to get into the building, and after a while they can leave without anyone noticing anything suspicious. There have been so many disappearances all over Mato lately, and people from Yui village have been disappearing for a while now too. Do you think there's a connection between the two? We would have to figure out the exact timing and make comparisons. I'm not 100% sure yet. The question now is how the two groups are connected and when and how they started getting involved with each other. I have a feeling we won't like whatever we find. Please don't let this be some insane human sacrifice thing again. It happened a while ago, but I'm still bothered by the collective amnesia. Scarlett said the amnesia wasn't drug-induced, but if you consciously bury memories like that, there has to be a deeper purpose. Do you know of any rituals that fit the bill? I don't really know, and I've gone through all the books I could find in the subject already. Alas, we know nothing and are even more confused than before. Fantastic. Knock knock, guys. Ritual, ceremonies, why the hell are you throwing those words around so much? Don't worry. Do you really think the medicine you took yesterday was for drowsiness? The world may just be a little bigger than common sense would have you believe. Whether it's strange beliefs or monsters, all of it exists. If you don't want to take my word for it, just ask Lucille. She met the store manager before I did. You don't need to hear everything from me. Believe it or not, your choice. A few days ago, I was just as clueless as you. People died because of it. That's something I don't want to happen ever again. What? You mean people are going to die? What's this all about? I can tell you more about it when we have the time. I ignore Zach's inquiries for now and turn back to Justin. Is there a way to gain control over this somehow? How about one of your contacts at the bureau? That'll be a problem. It's been very busy over there lately and there's a more pressing personal issue as well. What is it? Well, being the guy who cried wolf. I'm sorry I made that happen. It's fine, but why are you suddenly so motivated? Is it because Nico's not over? Where the fuck did he go? Why did he just suddenly leave? We're doing things differently this time. Before we had a vague idea of what we were getting ourselves into. This time there's no use in pretending to be experts. We'll be more cautious, I promise. There's so many people involved, there's always one person who cracks under pressure. We'll wait until we find a weak spot. Trying to sneak a snack when I have to read out everything myself is not working as well as I had hoped. That makes sense, but then again, last time everything made sense too. I think of something, okay? It won't be easy and there's bound to be trouble. Saving people is never easy. Anyway, Zach, you... Huh? I looked left and right, but there's no trace of Zach. Where did he wander off to? He left because you guys kept talking about weird stuff. But at least it was apparently a planned accident, not just something being fucked up in the way the game was made or something. Right now it's impossible to tell the difference between Zach's temper and an erupting volcano. He didn't even wait until the store manager finished speaking. He was angry at the others for not making him aware of how serious the situation was much earlier. This time he left in silence, slipping away without anyone noticing. His impulsiveness got the better of him once again, urging him to act instead of planning things with the others until it might be too late. Ever since he was a child, he's been in a constant state of confusion. Why do people want him to study hard? Is it wrong to be brave? Is standing up for others worth it? What will his life turn out to be? Everything happens, unfolds and ends before he even knows it. Always. This has to change. It's time for initiative. Of course he's going to save the day. How? He hasn't thought about that yet. Fuck yeah! He still doesn't know. Thinking twice before acting is a valuable trait, but what if there isn't enough time for that? By the time he regains his senses and can think a little more clearly again, the Centrum building is already towering over him. The exterior is only dimly lit. The building's facade shows clear signs of age. It's almost run down. Zach is used to depressing places that are close to falling apart, but seeing the peeling paint, the old stains and the withered vines crawling along the building's walls, he gets a weird feeling from looking at it. If anything, that only makes his temper run even hotter. Zach takes a look around. This place is a long way away from the bustling city center. On a regular weekday, the area around this building is even less populated than usual. Still, there are a few people going about their business. He remembers how the store manager was describing the building's odd structure back in the bookstore. Knowing more about the layout gives Zach a sense of confidence. He collects his thoughts and steps into the building. He feels like a small boat drifting off into the looming uncertainty of the unpredictable dark sea at night. It's already long past lunchtime, and the restaurant, equally as dilapidated as the building's exterior, doesn't have a single guest. A few buzzing flies are the only thing to keep the bored waiters company. Even Zach is taken aback by the carefree, wholly uninterested attitude. Because of the store manager's suspicions, Zack decides to act more like a thug. It could prove helpful and make him fit in. Zack quickly makes his way across the rustic lobby. He doesn't want to stop for even a second. The sooner he finds a safe spot without anyone around, the better. He can't help but notice the crude faces of the waiters. Stern, hollow eyes, expressions that ooze hostility. One thing's for sure, it's nightmare fuel. If he could ever fall asleep in the first place, that is. The facial features that somehow seem off and unnatural have a strong impact on Zack. To an ordinary person they might be just a little ugly, but Zack knows better, making the fear run all that much deeper. This is important to him. If it weren't, he would have turned around and ran, trusting his instincts. But there's only a thin line that marks the point of no return, and he can't afford the luxuries such as fear right now. The room he's in is only sparsely lit. It seems well maintained, and luckily for him, there's nobody else around, at least for now. An oppressive wheel of humidity covers the entire room. Zack's skin is sensitive to the touch of the cold metal around him, which helps him focus. Lower floors are restaurants, blah 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 blah. If the first two floors are restaurants, maybe taking a look further up is the way to go. It isn't likely that there would be enough room for many people in the kitchen and the back, but the second floor is somehow more suspicious than the one Country Taste is on. Is there a way to go further up? Zack circles the room and pushes open the door to the fire escape. The narrow hallway is urging him to move on as fast as possible. At least the southern part is a typical office layout. The corridor extends to the left and right, winding around the corner around 40 or 50 meters away and connecting to the other side of the building. If no alterations have been made, there should be 3 rooms per floor. Examining each and every one of them obviously isn't practical. Zack has a tough choice to make. Where to now? Okay, well, let's start with the 3rd floor. Zack makes his way through the filthy stained corridor until he reaches the 3rd floor. It takes the rebellious teenager some time to get a feel for this floor's layout. This clearly isn't a restaurant. There are 3 rooms side by side and all of the doors are closed. The corridor is unlit and the lack of natural light makes it easy to forget that the sun is still up outside. There's an ominous silence. Although Zack can hear some activity from the restaurant, it sounds like a strange echo from a faraway world. Alright, I should check this out first. Room A. It's locked. The door won't budge one bit, no matter how hard Zack pushes. It doesn't have a keyhole, making Zack wonder how the owner intends to open it. He can make out a faint sound coming from inside the room. It sounds like someone crying. I have to be quiet. Instead of further fiddling around with the door, he puts his ear close to it and listens. The others still aren't back yet? No, they're nowhere to be found. It's getting late. What a load of crap. Finding a brass bell in such a big city? And it's supposed to be the size of a fist, right? And we still have to go to the river to scatter those strange fish. Add the search for the bell, the search for the girl, those people we have to move around. Does it look like we have 10 pairs of hands or something? They made this mining business sound completely different. Now we're in too deep to quit. I'm telling you that foreigner talked about it. The exact same stuff as those things upstairs. Did he? I've only ever seen him come here and to act all smug and arrogant, ready to pick a fight. The guy can take on 6 people at once. Nobody dares to speak up when he's around. I mean, that makes sense. That's just talk. What the fuck? Whatever you say. Anyway, he's looking for something and our boss is involved. Damn, what have I got myself into? Give me a bite, boy. I've only got 2, you damn leech. Hey, chill, I'll pay you back next time. I've heard you say that way too many times already. It's hard to make out what exactly is going on, but there's definitely some shady business going on here. Anyway, now's not the right time to waste any effort on this door. Okay, what about the 6th floor? The door to the 6th floor is closed. The door has obviously been reinforced at some point, and even the smallest slits in the seams are completely sealed off. Zack inspects the door thoroughly, ultimately arriving at the conclusion that there's 0 chance of getting through. Eager to find even the smallest clue, Zack steps close to the door in an attempt to eavesdrop. We cannot accept. A muffled voice is growling. Hey now, this is a pretty sweet deal. You won't find another place around here suited to your cause as this one. This has nothing to do with those. Art, skill, technique, advanced, they are unworthy. That's hard to believe in light of recent failures. I need your help to affect the city's water supply. But how do you expect me to trust you when you're not even familiar with this particular transformation technique? This
is more complex. Don't be unreasonable. Nay, how can you compare a procedure to transform the flesh with the procedure to transform the brain? If you think it's simply a matter of pouring drugs into the water supply so that people are rendered unconscious, you are gravely mistaken. The necessary rituals and materials to get people to let down their guard and accept everything from the bottom of their hearts are of the utmost complexity. It makes me curious about what you guys have been up to these past few years at Yui Village. And it has nothing to do with that. You should just keep experimenting and learning. We can let the thugs get rid of the failures. The actual yield rate is still shockingly low, but so far the process has been surprisingly hassle-free. We are serious. Considering the state of this building, I wonder if there's even a big enough water supply? If you don't work hard and meet the standards, everyone here will be in trouble. Oh yeah, you're not going to treat them the same as us, are you? Everyone here seems to be local. There are never any new faces. You talk a lot. You play with fire. Anyway, the prophecy is what it is, and it's up to you to believe it or not. It's been almost half a month since we've seen a drug supply from the Eastern District, and the Visionary Society members will be leaving the city soon. That should work in your favor. You stay on the path, won't you? Or have you lost the courage to do great things? Oh. Most parts of the conversation were inaudible, but Zack still heard the clear anger and malice beneath the words. That and several strange, unidentifiable noises. This isn't a good spot to hang around for long, and this isn't the kind of place where Fatty would be either. Determined, Zack steps away from the door to investigate the other floors. Okay, 4th floor. The actual layout of the 4th floor differs from the blueprints Neko provided. The southern rooms appear to have been merged into one, leaving only one entrance to the corridor. The northern rooms are arranged in a weird pattern too. In addition to 2 normal-sized rooms, there's another room near the east side of the building, leaving only a small door and a gap in the hallway. As for the southernmost room, it's locked up, tight with no visible way in or out. There isn't a single window all along the hallway. The walls are covered in... There isn't a single window all along the hallway, yet why do I see 2 windows here? Just saying. The walls are covered in square marks indicating new plaster. The floor is quiet, as if it has been soundproofed, and you can barely hear the sound of the cars outside. Where's my cursor? See. This is the only room that's unlocked. The door is half open already, revealing a small glimpse of what's inside. For now, it seems like the only option is to keep exploring. Did he oversee something, or is there really nothing? Zack carefully observes his surrounding in an attempt to find more clues. Zack discovers a line of water stains on the ground. He gently touches one of them with his fingertips. It's a sticky substance, definitely not just water. It seems more like mucus than liquid. It's like slime from a toad's skin, but it's way too much for it to have come from a toad. The trail looks like footprints. What could have possibly left those? What are those? Zack shakes his head and forces himself to focus. He needs to move. There's no point in hovering around. The room seems to be empty. With a deep breath, he musters up the courage to push open the door and step inside. He has a feeling he may regret this decision. The foul smell that hits him is so bad he almost loses consciousness. It takes him a good 5 seconds before he can think straight again. A huge surgical operating table takes up most of the room. Many medical instruments are strewn about, and Zack can't help but notice that dry blood covers most of them. He's concentrating so much on his surroundings, he almost misses the most obvious thing. A person. Zack is repulsed. Every fiber of his body is warning him not to look any closer, and his instincts are telling him to turn around and never return to this disgusting place. He's covered from head to toe in cold sweat. He doesn't know what it is, but there's something unbelievably dangerous about this room. It reeks of dread and malice. However, he doesn't seem to be fully in control of his body right now.
Thank you for the posture check, Lena. Thank you.
No, just one more look around. I'm sorry. Oh, it actually what? You know, the first time they actually introduced this weird, oh, you can look at people with that thing, it never actually worked when I tried to click on it, so I never clicked on it again, but okay. Zack approaches the bed to examine the patient lying on it. Although he mentally prepared himself, the confirmation that this is indeed a dead body sends a jolt through his chest. The deceased looks like an adult male of average height and weight. The body lying flat on a hospital bed hasn't grown stiff yet, and Zack can hear an indescribable squelching sound at the slightest touch. Zack has heard about the stages a body goes through after death, but he can't remember the exact details right now. Who would have thought that an ordinary person would ever need this information? Due to his lack of professional knowledge, all he can do is give the body a rudimentary once-over. However, his efforts seem to have been in vain. Huh? Zack gently turns the deceased head and discovers an incision on the side of the neck about the length of his index finger. It is difficult to detect what caused it since the wound is covered in an unknown fluid. Is this because of death? Huh? The hands have been forcefully tied down, long metal needles have been inserted deep into the ears, and the neck looks painfully contorted. Many pairs of huge eyes next to each other. What overtakes Zack isn't merely the scene in front of him, but what his mind makes of it. Sickening moans that echo in his head, nausea-inducing smells. Zack's own imagination is turning into a theater of macabre horrors. His vision is getting more and more blurry by the second, and his strained eyes begin to drift around the room, looking beyond the depths of the physical space. He stares at things that aren't actually there. A vast sea with the shadowy silhouette of a Buddha sitting in the lotus position far away in the distance. Instead of the usual light emanating from behind the head, countless arms encircle it. It just looks wrong. The only thing Zack can compare it to is a sitting octopus. It makes no sense. Malevolent, vengeful thoughts erupt in his mind. Twisted arms, fierce fangs, huge eyes, one after the other. Twisted arms, fierce fangs, huge eyes. Twisted arms, fierce fangs, huge eyes. Twisted. He's frozen in place with no idea as to where he is or what he's doing. He feels numb. It's as if his soul has left his body. He doesn't register or respond to anything around him anymore. Uh-oh. The door behind him opens. A pair of huge eyes is staring at Zack from the shadows outside the door. Zack jumps with fright. Fighting the fear, he musters up every ounce of physical strength he has left and throws a punch. He remembers what he heard in the bookstore. Admittedly, he didn't understand everything that was being discussed, but he knows that a certain Yui village is stirring up trouble. Whatever is going on in this building is more than a simple string of kidnappings. In that case, could it be... Fatty? Zack has good reason to be hesitant. Yes, Such strength. Actually, Fatty's nickname never had anything to do with his weight. Plenty of people stuffed themselves with junk food and sodas, but Fatty earned his nickname through brute force and physical strength. He's the human equivalent of a wrecking ball. There's no chance in hell to win in a fight against him. Strong muscles are visible underneath his skin. They aren't well defined, but they're quite genuine and intimidating. On top of that, Fatty seems to have grown even taller somehow. Zack rubs his eyes in disbelief and takes another look at the strange yet oddly familiar figure in front of him. Sure, it's Fatty. The ears, the nose, the mouth. But he's changed. His eyes are bigger than they've ever been, to the point where it looks like they're about to pop out of their sockets. They're bright, but they have a strange orange-yellowish color. Still, it's Fatty. There's no doubt about that. Zack would recognize his friend everywhere. Zack steps forward and places his hand on Fatty's arm in a comforting manner. The skin feels harsh under his palm and it almost stops him in his tracks. Man, I really had to come to a shithole like this to find you? He can't find the right words. Right now, he simply can't figure out how to deal with his emotions. This is the only way for him to express his concern. Zack, brother. Take it easy, we'll catch up later. Let's get out of here first. Fatty doesn't respond. All he does is stand there in silence. Well, this isn't normal. Fatty's always been talkative, straightforward and foul-mouthed, especially in front of Zack. Something isn't right about this. No matter how big a fight they had in the past, the current situation should erase all that. Come on, work with me here. We need to get you to a doctor. Have you looked in the mirror lately? You weren't pretty to begin with, and how are you ever gonna get a girl with a face like that? It's for your own good, so come with me. Zack doesn't get the reaction he was looking for. Instead, Fatty displays a variety of other emotions. Happiness, anger, worry, and... Zack! Fatty growls in a way that's barely understandable. Do you know what this place is? Do you know how many people are here? How many people we have to run from? I don't care. If we don't leave now, there's no outside. No use. His bloated body is expanding dramatically. He gasps for air as his mouth starts to foam. His tongue is flailing and lashing around, wet slurping noises drowning out his words as saliva splatters across his face. Too late! Already out! Now! Go! Do it! Don't be ridiculous, there's always a... Zack can't react in time to what happened next. His body slammed into the edge of the counter with enough force to break a rib. His lungs have trouble keeping up and he almost passes out. Why? Zack doesn't understand what's going on. Never before has he seen his friend so angry and unhinged. He just stands there, the pain coursing through his body, telling him that his whole bizarre situation is actually happening. Coming here to save a friend was the right thing to do, no matter the circumstances. Seeing this room just confirms that. But why all of this? The sound of heavy footsteps interrupts Zack's train of thought. You! Hey! The slimy, sticky sound draws nearer, but that's not all. Mother, great mother. Great mother in a black dress. The wind that nears, the storm approaches. Great mother in a black dress. Come back to me, great mother. The tea is good, the meat is rich. Come back to me, great mother. Return me safely from the sea. I'll give you tea, I'll give you meat. Great mother in a black dress. Yeah, this is for sure the great mother we read about in that other book last time. A strange chant again. This time, however, Zack can make out the words. Because they are closer now. Zack instantly remembers that one night. There's more to it than he thought. Now, his whole world is now controlled by one single primal emotion, fear. He's caught in the moment, unable to do anything. Robbed of his voice and unable to lift his arms, he's completely incapable of moving. Fatty, on the other hand, is not. He grabs Zack by the neck, pushing him into a dark corner of the room. Zack slams into the wall once more, desperately scrambling for something to hold on to. But his hands touch something that's much colder than the wall. The entrance to the garbage chute. Go, quick, get in! Fatty haphazardly pushes Zack into it as if he were an actual garbage bag. The passage is spacious, but clearly not intended for humans, and barely big enough for Zack to fit through. Fatty's having some difficulty pushing Zack into it, but that's also in part because Zack is trying to resist. Zack knows exactly what's about to happen, just as he knows that Fatty could never fit through the tube. Fatty, hey, what are you doing? Zack turns around to call out to his friend. Don't be an idiot! I came here to help you, I'm not leaving without you! He answered to Zack's exclamation followed swiftly. Another push with tremendous power behind it. Damn it, go, quickly! Though Fatty's growling voice is loud and powerful, it's growing more distant now. Zack's body descends rapidly. He can hear faint wailing sounds and fists striking flash, and then he can't hear anything. Sharp pain pulls him back to reality. Fortunately, the chute opens up far enough above the ground, so Zack manages to turn around in time to land on his back. I mean... that's gotta hurt! The chute was on the full floor. Unfortunately, the impact is too much for Zack. He loses his breath and the ability to think for a moment. Then his instincts kick back in. He has to escape. He has to survive. That's the only thought in his mind. His whole body hurts, his bones creak and his joints crack under the pressure of each step. He moves towards a bright light with the last tiny bit of energy he has left. He can't hear the car start, can't smell the disgusting stench, and he can't see or hear the tall figure standing next to the trash growling. He can't feel anything, not even the pain. Darkness, nothing but darkness. What in the ever-loving fuck, actually? Welcome back. Did you find anything? Sorry, not yet. We were close to the restaurant and suddenly a whole bunch of people turned up. They all looked so aggressive. Be patient, Cecile. You just have to wait a little longer. But Zack... It doesn't sound too good. Justin takes the microphone and I can hear plenty of background noise. As if to underline Justin's words, there seems to be a lot of growling and yelling going on the other end. It's very crowded right now, so don't let Nico get anywhere near here. I wouldn't have believed a place like that could slip under the laws radar and Mato if I hadn't seen it with my own eyes. So what should we do now? Retreat. Since they seem to be in such a hurry, they probably don't have the situation under control, and I doubt that uproar Zack's doing. Well, you would be wrong. In other words, I think the chances of Zack escaping are high. I don't see much point in dwelling on it. Why don't we take advantage of the fact that they're so disorganized right now and check things out ourselves? I
can already imagine how much of a mess it must be inside. And make no mistake, right now they're probably more vigilant than ever before. Don't go near that place. Yeah, I know. I have a plan. Cecile, you know where to wait for me. Where on earth did he run off to now? Still busy? Just before stress and anxiety get the better of me, I hear a familiar voice. Thankfully, the visitor who has come to watch the show this time isn't wearing that familiar hat. I was going to ask for your help again, but it seems to be a bad time. That's true. Unfortunately, I already have my hands full. Let me just say that whatever it is you're planning, I can't really be of much help these next few days. Oh, and let me give you this. Here. She sets a package wrapped in plastic down on the table. It has an angular shape, and upon picking it up, it's a lot heavier than it looks. I can tell what's inside. It makes no sound whatsoever as I shake it a little. Oh man. I never understood the whole point of picking up a present and shaking it to find out what's in it. Like if it's a present given to you and you're supposed to open it up anyway, why shake it? You're going to see in the after the few seconds it takes you to actually, physically unwrap it or something. What's this? Express delivery? Apparently, yeah, I found it by your door. Hard to believe this place even has a mailing address. Even those pesky door-to-door salesmen leave you alone. Now that you mention it, I've never seen them around. Anyway, that's beside the point. Thank you for bringing it. I'm sure the courier just dumped it because he didn't know what to do since we're close to there. At least whoever sent it didn't put your phone number on the label. And check this out. All it says in place of a name is Hermitage. Courier services really need to get creative when it comes to finding addresses. Who knows? Maybe it was supposed to be addressed to Hermitage as a business itself. I'm not the actual owner after all. How do you mean that? I mean it literally. I ignore Scarlett's confused look and take a letter opener out of a drawer and then proceed to carefully open the package with it. The first thing I notice is the slightly dewy and damp smell. Another stack of old books. So it was him. Oh, that's what you meant earlier. I'm just a little surprised. I never would have thought he'd entrust these books to a stranger. Normally he would only deliver them in person. It's not like this place is crawling with customers, but the ones that do come here have high standards. He makes sure to keep us stocked up with volumes that are hard to come by anywhere else, though some of them are way too exotic for anyone to actually be interested in them. Do you really need his help? I'm sure you have a say in what gets put on the shelves. Aren't you the manager now? That's okay. It's not as if I'm relying on it. I just let him do this thing. I'm not one to judge somebody else's interests or hobbies. To be honest, I'm not really telling Scarlett the whole truth here. Things are bad enough already, and with everyone on edge, I think telling her about the owner's peculiar backstory and antics, she might try to get me to move out and abandon Hermitage. The harsh truth is that I have nowhere else to go. That's reason enough for me to keep the owner's secrets to myself instead of burdening someone else with it. I wonder how long I can keep this up and how long these secrets can actually remain secret. The thought gives me a bad feeling, and I watch how Scarlett curiously browses through the new arrivals. Oh, here we go again. It's that odd feeling again. Lately it's been happening more and more frequently. What's wrong? Is your lack of sleep catching up to you? No, I think it's something else. Listen to your body and treat it with a little more respect, or your sedentary lifestyle will get the better of you. Oh, looks like he does have good taste every once in a while. Scarlett picks up a book from the pile that looks rather pristine compared to the others. Good taste? You mean this book? It's another Cthulhu. It's another Cthulhu! Yeah, exactly. Strange you would say that. I would have thought it was only for a niche audience. Niche is the new mainstream, haven't you heard? These days it's easier to generate hype around stuff like this, especially with movies, games, and all kinds of merch being sold. It's part of pop culture. The game Nico's helping to develop has the same theme, if I'm not mistaken. That's it. Looks like whoever's in charge of it knows what's popular and has a vision. Are you messing with me? Why would I? Trust me, this is exactly the kind of entertainment young people these days are into. What a strange times we live in. You can say that again. I've heard of some kids actually building altars in their backyards. Can you believe that? Many of them don't even have an idea where it all originates from. Modern media is to blame for blurring the lines between what's real and what's fiction. Still, I'd rather have those kids playing around with that kind of stuff than seeing them get involved in anything that's actually dangerous. Speaking of danger, there's something I've been meaning to talk to you about.
I was expecting that. It's written all over your face. Go ahead, what is it? You remember that sky pit incident? Another one of those holes has turned up. Oh, really? One of them was bad enough, and now there's a second one. You mean like the one close to the riverside viewing platform? Exactly. Luckily, there was far less traffic there than at the site of the previous incident. That means slightly less information will leak to the public too. An important international conference is just around the corner, and one bad event keeps chasing the next. City officials are panicking. It's pure chaos. Did you go there to have a look at it yourself? Yeah, I did. The whole place still reeked of ammonia when I got there, courtesy of the fire department's extinguishing work. The fire department's response to the incident makes me think. I'm trying to piece everything together. Maybe there's a connection to the previous incident. The explosion, blah blah blah. A lightning bolt and a fireball. Turning south, you can see several shadows. Two people trip. Yeah, we saw this. This was in chapter 1. This was in chapter 1. And the only mention they made of it was like, so the other girl saw something that had happened already. She didn't actually see the future. She saw events that happened in the past already without her having physically been there. But they didn't touch upon it again, and no one actually found out what the fuck happened with the weird explosion. I guess they're trying to build up more. They're probably going to hit us with something in chapter 4 as well that they mentioned in chapter 2 or something. I just hope whenever games make it a point to add up I don't know, some side story business, that they actually finish those up as well with the main story coming to an end, or it all tying in together. I mean, because lots of times people will start on something in the beginning chapter and be like, haha, this is going to be such a small detail that you will probably forget about, and I will be sitting there like, you never did anything with this plot point. Why was it there then? Was an explosion in this case too. It looks just like what happened at the viewing platform. It happened late at night, so there aren't as many eyewitness reports this time around. The people who were there, or at least close by, all mentioned loud noises and blinding lights. I get close, so I have a pretty good idea of what the site of the incident looks like. Scarlet sighs and starts rubbing her temples. It looks eerily similar to the gaping hole from last time, like something unbelievably hot burned a hole straight into the ground, or somebody scooped out a large chunk of asphalt as if it were ice cream. That would be close to impossible to replicate. It can't be a coincidence. One of the eyewitnesses happened to look directly at the spot when it happened and reported something interesting. Interesting? Weren't they blinded by the light? Not right away, at least. The witness says they saw a huge silhouette at the center of the light when it happened. What kind of silhouette? That makes it sound like a scene from a sci-fi movie. They mentioned the silhouette being extremely tall, 2 meters at the very least. Of course, we have to remain skeptical. Only one person reported having seen it. Human eyes aren't made for staring into bright lights, and it might as well have been an optical illusion. You're right. We can't rule out the idea that was just a mirage. I'm not sure that's the right word for it. Think about it. From everything you just described, the air around the incident site must have been brimming with heat. That would conflict with the eyewitness report, because nobody could just stand around such extreme heat. Maybe for just a moment? Oh, well, I don't know. I don't think we have enough to go on yet, and wild guesses won't do us any favors. Let's set aside the mysterious silhouette and whether it's real or not for now. The fact remains that the same thing has happened twice in the city. We should focus on that and dig deeper. We just can't catch a break, can we? Once you're done with the other stuff, call up Justin and let him work this job. I'm sure it's more exciting than whatever he's doing right now. I'm not too sure excitement is what he's after. You should probably ask him yourself. I'm sure you would have an easier time persuading him. I'd hopefully say no if you speak to him face to face. You really think so? I somewhat doubt that. I'm not... Save your breath. As far as I'm concerned, it's settled. Thanks in advance. Scarlet picks up the crumpled packaging and gets up. I'll see if I can get some more information out of those witnesses. I'll be in touch if I found out anything new. And I'll be in touch if I need your help. Scarlet shoots me a nonchalant glance but doesn't say anything. She's always so hard to read. The plastic wrapping from the book delivery in hand, she walks out the door. Can I just call a timeout? Mysterious murder cases with a supernatural background and now unexplained natural disasters. As Scarlett once said, there's a fine line between which things can no longer be considered coincidences. And that line has not only been crossed, but stomped on and erased a long time ago.
Thank you for the pet night time.
Something shady is brewing in the city, but what is it? Faced with such an ominous premonition, I can't help but worry about when we might bite off more than we can chew. Ah, don't worry, it's only chapter 3 of 5, so we can go higher. We can get worse. We can get worse. Anyway, let's tackle this case. Problems keep piling up on top of the already existing ones. I slap myself lightly in the cheek in an effort to get my hat back in the game. Until we get Zack back, I'm afraid our troubles have only just started. Pain. That's the first thing he feels when he wakes up. It sweeps over him like a wave of anguish, but no matter how hard he tries, he's unable to scream. Slowly but surely he comes back to his senses. He's surrounded by a tranquil silence. The only thing he can hear is the soft howling of the wind in the trees. That's when he notices a stench so foul it almost makes him pass out again. Where is he? He tries to turn his head to observe his surroundings, but his body won't react. Maybe he could move his eyes if he focuses with all his might. But that's just wishful thinking. To make matters worse, he now realizes that the foul, nausea-inducing stench is coming from his own body. Did someone move him here, or is this just where he landed? Somebody might know the answer to that, but that somebody isn't him. He doesn't know how he ended up here exactly, but in retrospect, he doesn't regret anything. Right now, there's nothing for him to do but lie on the ground and stare at the night sky. His thoughts are getting clearer, images and voices echoing in his head. Get out quickly. Fatty has never acted that way before, it's not like him at all. Still, his friend only wanted to help him, even if it was in an unexpectedly rough way. And Zack's the kind of person to constantly look forward in life, facing things head on. Something sounds fun, go for it. Something doesn't, leave it be. Life is as simple as that. No need to think about everything too much. Just be yourself. Thinking too much about stuff just makes it more complicated. That's the attitude he's always had, even if his peers kept mocking him for it. Looking back, he realizes his impulsive outbursts have hurt people he cares about. He wasn't completely unaware, otherwise he wouldn't have drifted away from the street life. But seeing himself now, covered in mud, beaten and bruised on the ground, he's not the same student he once was. Maybe he ditched it all in an attempt to wash his hands clean, to run away from his problems so they wouldn't catch up to haunt him. But running away never solves anything. Zack is still a troublemaker who dislikes using his brain too much. But he didn't throw the first punch in this fight, the world did. Yeah, this is so frustrating. His hoarse voice cuts through the quiet night. He gives up on trying to move and he can feel something wet trickling from the corners of his eyes. Hang in there, Fatty. For the first time in ages, Zack is filled with remorse, an emotion he kept buried for far too long. He knows exactly what he has to do. Get back inside that wicked building and get Fatty out of there. But his mind is blank. He's not used to thinking things through because it always seemed easier that way. He's been going through life on instinct for far too long. He needs help. Hey, Wolverine! Hey, you still alive? Startled by the voice, Zack attempts to find out where it's coming from, but his stiff neck still won't budge. Someone is approaching him, a man with a deep, powerful voice that Zack doesn't recognize. Who is he? Zack wants to answer the question with a question, but quickly scraps that idea. The man's voice sounds so self-assured and relaxed, it seems as if he knows more about what happened here than Zack himself. His voice automatically commands attention. Zack feels a little better at the thought of not being alone, giving him some much-needed energy. Would you like some water? Whoever speaking doesn't wait for Zack to answer, or for him to muster up the strength to follow through with his own question. The sudden sensation of cold liquid against Zack's lips interrupts his train of thought. He tries to open his mouth a bit. It's easy to choke while drinking in his current position on the ground, but he doesn't care about that right now. Whoever this man is, his arrival saved Zack's life in every sense of the word. Better? Thanks. You're welcome. I admire you, you know. Get a tough gaze. It'd be a shame to let that go to waste. Waste? Don't worry about it. It's just a personal preference of mine.
Letting something like that go would be missing a great opportunity. I don't understand what you're trying to say. If you want to reach your goals, no matter how unachievable they may seem, you have to change yourself. There are many opportunities for change, but there's always a high price to pay. If you want to change something, you have to take action. Hiding away in a corner won't do you any good. Wolverine, I'm on the ground here dying. I think I need more than just your inspirational words to get better. The man keeps rambling on while giving Zack some more water. After a long rest, Zack can finally see clearly again. The man crouching next to him is pretty tall and imposing. Let's see how much you remember. There's something you wanted to do, right? Zack nods. No matter what this man actually knows, he's Zack's only chance. Whatever it is, you know you can't do it alone. Zack nods again. He has to use his brain and his fists if need be, but he's afraid that won't be enough. This is his chance to ask for help, even if it means having to beg. But that isn't the issue here. As long as Fatty's trapped in that building, there are obstacles that Zack can't overcome yet. Zack doesn't say anything. He doesn't see the point in explaining everything to the stranger, who doesn't seem like he's ready to listen anyway. Ultimately, the question is, are you ready to make sacrifices to reach your goal? I mean, as in, sacrificing yourself. Zack still can make out the man's face, but he can hear him chuckling to himself. Something isn't right with this guy. It sounds as if the devil himself is whispering in Zack's ear, and every word he says is full of hidden intent. Zack doesn't know what the hidden intent is, but he suspects nothing good. That doesn't stop Zack from nodding a third time. I'd give it all up. Life only gives you one chance. Miss out on it and it will never come back. Rescuing Fatty will come at a high price, but Zack is ready to pay for his recklessness. If he never returns to his old life, then so be it. The man's silence makes Zack uncomfortable. Hey, if you have something to say, just say it. The only response he gets is from the falling leaves and evening breeze. The stranger's figure grows taller as he... Jesus Christ, I cannot talk today. The stranger's figure grows taller as he gazes into Zack's eyes. He places the water bottle next to him and pulls something else out of his pocket. Is that so? Well, you find out soon enough. If you want to do something about it all, why not start with the water? Those guys can't go a day without it. It's what gives them energy. Ultimately, none of them are purebloods, just half-assed jokes. Why are you telling me this? Good question. I wish I knew. Keep fighting, you hear? They don't take kindly to failures. No. Those are the last words Zack hears before he passes out again. Oh, did they turn him into one of those things as well?
You were the pet.
At long last, we finally found Zack in Nanshan Park. Cecile went through a lot of trouble to get him back to Hermitage. Covered in mud, poor Zack was a sorry sight. She even contacted me to put me on the phone in order to reaffirm her made-up story that he'd just had a little too much to drink. Even so, she told me that the taxi driver seemed suspicious until the very last second. But of course it gets worse. Sitting on a couch, I try to think of a way to get rid of the smell that keeps growing increasingly intense on the first floor. It's like a strong sea breeze swiftly carrying nature's majestic smell across the shores. That's how I would put it if I had to describe it in poetic terms. If you close your eyes, the salty smell might let you think that you're at the beachside. But sadly, this isn't a seaside resort. A harbor during peak fishing season would be a better comparison. Sorry, boss. I'll try to get everything cleaned up. Don't make any promises yet. You know what you could do? After feeding 2 cans of mackerel could improve the air in here immensely. Wow, you actually eat that stuff? Yep, I specifically ordered it online. Couldn't eat it in peace while we're staying before in fear of stinking up the place. I had to eat it hidden and hunched over in the server room all the time. That's the only place no one apart from me ever visited. Guess I'll have to buy a new school uniform. I've been sending way too much money lately. Sorry about that. Zack is always extraordinarily honest in front of Cecile, probably because they've known each other for so long. He doesn't look too well. His shoulders are shaking a little as he lowers his head. Everyone came back in one piece. That's the most important thing. We talk about everything later. You look like you're in pain. Are you sure you're okay? I'm fine. Just feeling a little groggy, but nothing a good rest won't fix. Please stop being so impulsive in the future. It won't fix anything, and there are people here who worry about you, you know?
Justin points at Cecile, who smiles apologetically. Her hair's still a little wet. Nico told us that when she arrived at the scene, Cecile was covered in mud and dirt from head to toe, all from dragging Zack around. Both she and Justin had to come up with a way to clean themselves up so as not to arouse too much suspicion. Zack's expression suddenly becomes more strained. I don't think it's just a matter of being groggy. Look at yourself. Hey, don't! Nico's eyes are venomous as she stands on tiptoe and shoves Zack's shoulders aside to reveal the side of his neck. There are 3 white marks across the skin, each one almost the length of an index finger. The skin around the white marks is clean and looks like the kind of new tissue that forms after a burn. However, the texture of the white marks itself isn't comparable to a burn at all. It doesn't look like an injury, but rather... Have you turned into a goldfish? Oh, like Jill? Oh! Comparison... There's nothing wrong with these marks. I checked them. It's not like there's something strange growing out of them yet. Hold on. Something strange? Care to elaborate? They're probably fish gills or something. How can you just say that without realizing how bizarre it sounds? The marks were already there the day before yesterday, but they were a lot smaller then. That's why none of you noticed. And just to make it clear, no touching. I saw something similar on Fatty's neck yesterday, but he wasn't worse shaped than I am. His marks are cracked open and were oozing something pink. They opened up whenever he breathed. So why the gills? What's the story? When I heard a strange chant in a building, well, I remembered something. What happened in the park? Maybe the reason for my scrambled memory goes back further than I thought. What? Are you serious? From what I gathered, Cecile found you near the school entrance, right? I do not like all of these characters being on the screen at the same time because holy shit. Shit, what a mess. I don't even know what happened or what I did. But then these things appeared on my neck. It must have something to do with whatever those guys were trying to do. You would do well to care a little more about what happens to your body. Just remember what happened to Fatty. That was a full-on transformation. Who says the same thing won't happen to you too? But I didn't take him to the building like the others. That's hard to say. Huh? Let's go over everything again. Well, he apparently got infected, or whatever the fuck this actually is. He met Fatty. And then he woke up in the middle of fucking nowhere with a Wolverine. Yeah. Failed transformations. Remember what Zack said? Someone strange spoke to him in the park. Keep finding, yeah. The fact that the person who spoke to Zack found him at his hideout spot with these tells us a lot already. Don't forget that he was nearly caught before Cecile stumbled upon him. Do you think the guy might have been working with the kidnappers who chased Zack around? Not necessarily, but there has to be some kind of connection. From what he said, he must know something about what's going on. That's what makes his statement even more intriguing. What does he mean by failure? It's safe to say he's not talking about exams, though his hot-headed fool sure looks like he's failed his fair share of those. The exact meaning is open for interpretation, but in the most common sense it would mean a failure to meet certain standards. In other words, someone succeeded where Zack apparently failed, but at what? Maybe it's something about him being unable to save Fatty? But that would imply that no one succeeded at all. His phrasing, however, suggests that someone did, so it has to be about something else. Maybe that he didn't transform like Fatty did. That's possible. Zack still looks the same apart from the skills, of course. Fatty turned into something almost unrecognizable, so there's a huge difference. The same thing was done to them, but the outcome was different? Fatty's kidnapping might have happened at a different time than Zack's. Jeremy only admitted to inviting Fatty along, and Zack wasn't able to reach Fatty that day. So they were both chosen as targets, but at different times. That could be it, yes. I think that maybe Jeremy thought Zack would come along willingly if they captured Fatty first. So Zack ended up hiding in the park, but things took a turn for the worse there. He saw something that night that gave him a thorough scare. A possibility occurred to me. Zack always felt lucky to have escaped, but what if he was simply released after being kidnapped like a couple of others have and couldn't remember because he lost his memory? So in theory, we can't rule it out. After being released, his scared mind tried to piece things together forcefully, but couldn't. That would make it less strange that Cecile found him near the school's entrance. Who knows where they dropped him off? So even though he's alive and kicking right now, he's been through hell and back? Well, he's not exactly kicking, but yes, that's the gist of it.
That's terrible. Are you okay? Does it hurt?
Avoid, Cecile reaches out to put a hand on Zach's neck, but he turns his head away in embarrassment. He also just said no touching. I said it's fine. I was a little sore yesterday, but it's gone now, so I guess whatever it was must have stopped. It didn't look like it stopped last night, at least to me. Maybe it just took a little while, or maybe it was that bottle of water. Water? More water. Cecile, did you see it? Sorry, it was really dark and I wasn't paying attention. It doesn't matter, we have more important things to do right now, don't we? I would say that thing growing on your neck is pretty high up on a list of important things. Please, just this once, I really need your help. Zach's expression grows serious as he stands silently before us. He's looking directly at me, no longer trying to avoid eye contact. I know there's probably a lesson to be learned, and I know my actions might not have been the smartest. You can scold me all you want later, but Fatty's still in there right now and I can't live with that on my conscience. In a sense, your Agnes could very well be one of the reasons he's in that situation right now. I know, and he deserves a chance to vent his frustration on me. I think quite a few of us feel like we deserve that chance, seeing as how you're dragging us all into this with you. Like I said, please help me with this, and once it's over, I don't care about the rest. I'll be a punching bag for life if that's what it takes for you to help me. Okay, hold it right there. Time for a little more self-respect? It's hard to hear you speak as if you don't value your own life. I scratch my head and turn towards the door. Many things are still unclear and there's a lot left to do. There's no way of tackling the difficult situation I had without carefully analyzing all the information. On top of that, I feel like I've heard that chant Zach described somewhere before.
Thank you for the pet.
I have to look into that. Are you going downstairs? Why do I voice you differently each time, my guy? Of course, don't tell me you can't think straight with that abhorrent smell all around you. Couldn't have said it better myself. I'm coming with you.
Me too, guys. Wait for me.
You're all just going to abandon... With an incredulous look on her face, Nico looks as if we're a bunch of headless chicken running right towards a concrete wall. I ruffle her hair and point a thumb down the hallway. Don't worry, Nico. He may smell like death, but we're going to save the rebel's life.
And we have some more books to read. Oh god, we do.
Okay, we read all of... No. This one is new, right? This one? Which one was this? Oh yeah, this was the book about the Great Mother. We read this one. We read this one last time, but apparently it was good to read again. This one is definitely new though. Printed with cheap ink like in the early days. This was printed with cheap ink like in the early days. The paper is yellowed and a group of fishermen with harpoons are shown on the cover, struggling against a creature with tentacles. Although the book's title implies that it is an anthology of ballads, it contains quite a few folk tales, many of them written in a somewhat non-formal way. This casts some doubt on the publisher's professionalism. Most of the ballads and tales in this book originate from coastal areas and contain knowledge related to the sea, such as how to determine the proper time for fishing and how to properly judge the weather in order to avoid danger. Each text is accompanied by a corresponding picture, painted in an old-fashioned way by brush. They contain a variety of sea-related scenery, such as the view from a beach onto the ships out at sea. Some of these ballads describe rather dangerous situations, similar to the one depicted on the cover. They also contain some information on how to handle these situations and deal with them in the safest way possible. It seems as if these sinister beings from the sea only appear at certain times. One ballad explicitly mentions specific constellations in the sky. Once fishermen spot these particular arrangements of stars, they would do well to immediately head back to shore. Okay. What's this one? Foreign Visitors, an old paperback novel. The covers are wrinkled. The meticulous binding shows that this is serious literature. The writing style is extremely long-winded and overly complicated. The sentence structure is quite strange, and you can tell just by looking at the text that the translator had his work cut out for him. The main character of the novel is a man who shares his stories with travelers that occasionally stop by in a bar. The travelers are much more interesting and intriguing than the main character himself. The author never divulges their background, and it is up to the reader to decipher where they are from and what they do by how they dress, talk, and act. Among the travelers is a criminal who ends up in a long back-and-forth dispute with the protagonist, arguing over ethics, law, technology, politics, and other topics until the bar closes. These debates are very philosophical, and every single word carries an astonishing amount of meaning. Although the story apparently takes place at the end of the 19th century, the character's way of thinking is extremely progressive. The story ends with the criminal being shot by a detective who leaves an enigmatic message for the protagonist. Go home, take a nice bath, have a glass of whiskey, and forget everything you saw. Believe me when I say that trying to understand yourself 100 years from now will only drive you insane. Oh, okay, that is an enigmatic message to end a book on, okay. The Guan Yin Fate. Okay, what appear to be detailed local studies are carefully stapled together. Even with all the care that went into it, it's quite obvious that this isn't a proper publication. There's no publishing information whatsoever, and the quality of the print leaves a lot to be desired. Some letters are barely readable. The author seems educated in the orthodox social sciences. He carefully analyzes the evolution of the Guan Yin concept in different regions based on local folklore. The author points out that because of the long-term influence of pragmatic folk traditions, the Guan Yin concept has changed a lot depending on the region. Guan Yin is less impersonal than other deities. Human traits are associated with her, and there are many legends of her walking among mortals, helping those in need. This makes her seem more real than other deities. That is why it is easier for people to associate new myths and tales with Guan Yin and incorporate them into their existing faith. Many primitive concepts that should have long been forgotten were preserved because of this. Although it wasn't the people's intention, the core of these beliefs still lingers because of them. Alright, what's this one? Migration and Change of Customs, an understated academic report. Oh, I skipped one. Oopsie. An academic report. Judging by the Chinese-English bilingual title, it could very well be the result of a cross-border multinational academic study, especially given the names of the two authors. The researchers claim to belong to the French School for Advanced Studies in the Social Sciences, but the writing style and structure don't quite fit the characteristics of that institution. Also, the researchers don't seem to be well known in their respective countries. Putting aside these questionable factors, the report itself is rather exciting. Through extensive field research, the authors demonstrate the extent to which various migration theories of the past fit into China's local context, using a sophisticated and practical approach, which is very elegant in its academic presentation. The author's arguments are actually quite appalling. They argue that, had normal migration patterns been followed, the south of the country would have exerted a greater influence on cultural traditions, yet the facts they found state the exact opposite. After taking all possible reasons into consideration, common assumptions are dismissed, leaving only one absurd possibility. In ancient times, at least 10 settlements in the south simply vanished, strongly diminishing the south's cultural sphere of influence. Even the authors themselves say they were highly skeptical of it all at first, but the study leaves no other possible conclusion. Romney said in his addendum that for the first time ever in social studies, he felt somewhat excited but also very frightened, suddenly uncovering the existence of imaginary numbers and tampering with history. Okay, what's the book next to that? Waiting! A brand new bestseller. It has heavy paper and a saturated decorative cover. A new bestseller with a pompously decorated cover, printed on thick, expensive paper. There's a huge list of names in the back of the book showing how many people were involved in its massive advertising campaigns. However, the content of the book itself is actually quite lackluster and cheap, the equivalent of literary fast food. The book emphasizes how the author relies on perseverance and sincerity to make progress and achieve his goals, but never goes into detail about what he actually does or what his thought process is when making decisions. When you try to ignore the constant boasting in this book, there isn't really any information as to how the author made his first successful financial ventures. Without his high seed capital, he would never have gotten to where he is now. Unlike many other supposedly rich people writing lifestyle guides and self-help books like this, he's very secretive and ambitious about where his money comes from and how he got his big chance. It's a very sudden and unexpected rags to riches kind of story. That's probably how he managed to become so popular. People eat up this sort of thing. Okay. What's this one? No name. An old notebook with no name on it. A notebook with no title. The notebook is about 2 fingers thick, with the leather surface covered in dirt. It looks like it's been in use for decades. The entire content of the notebook is written in German. Show me. And there are obvious traces as parts of it have been erased. The author wrote on various formulas, instructions, and statements in a poem-like structure. The notebook really doesn't smell that good, but I can't tell what the stench is exactly. Show me! This is the second time they're saying something, oh, it's written in German, and then don't actually show us. We have read this one. What is this one? Cthulhu's Mythos of Volume 2. Volume 2 of the Cthulhu Mythos, carrying on the style of the previous book, the cover depicts a scene from the Mountains of Madness. It came out 1 year after the first volume's release, indicating that the first one sold very well. This book includes At the Mountains of Madness, The Shadow over Innsmouth, The Rats in the Walls, and The Shadow Out of Time. Stories about the ancient Great Ones and explorers caught up in their incomprehensible schemes. At the Mountains of Madness suggests that there are ice-covered ancient cities in Antarctica, and that shoggoths living there, created by the Elder Things to be their servants, but they turned against their creators and killed them. The Shadow over Innsmouth tells the story of a young man who explores a strange seaport town out of curiosity. He escapes after discovering the village's horrible secrets, unaware that he's already one of them due to his bloodline. Beginning in the last part of The Shadow Out of Time, the lower left corner of the page has big black marks on it. They grow larger with each page, ultimately swallowing up the complete last page. The translator is still Yao Chenghu. There should be German redeemed so we can speak German. Oh, yeah, I could, sure. Sure. Cthulhu Mythos Volume 3, Volume 3 of the Cthulhu Mythos. It was only recently released and there's an image of Nyarlathotep on the cover. Maybe it's just me, but it seems as if the myth of Cthulhu has become increasingly popular over the last few years. Why did people start pursuing these dark secrets even though they were obviously meant to be left alone? Hickman's model, Nyarlathotep, the Outsider, the Dreams in a Witch House. This collection is more than the average reader can handle. There have been many times when I've seen someone on the subway reading a Cthulhu Mythos book, and some people even use the Necronomicon logo as an accessory. Will reading these stories gradually convince people that they are true? What if they aren't fiction? I just want the world to remain a normal, sane place. I just want the world to remain a normal, sane place, says the guy who is involved with various, definitely supernatural happenings. In the span of a little less than, a month. Just saying. Well, let's get started. With what? On what? What exactly did we come down here for? Just to talk? To analyze the situation as best as we can. You know how the saying goes, if you know the enemy and know yourself, you need not fear the result of 100 battles. Blindly rushing in is a bad idea, obviously. We also need to get a good grasp of the movement patterns and patrol rotations. We wouldn't want to run straight into the arms. The patterns and rotations? We have to be honest with ourselves, we don't really know much more than the fact that there's something evil going on in that place. Rescuing the people who are being held inside will be difficult. Could you two please quit your pessimistic attitude? If we think hard enough, we're bound to figure out a way to pull this off. You're right. We need to think this over until we've exhausted all possible ideas. If you ask me, there are two very important questions that should come first. Who exactly are they, and what are they trying to do? That's fairly obvious, isn't it? They chase people down, kidnap them, and then turn them into those nasty abominations. Having seen it with my own eyes should be enough proof, right? Why are you down here? We all left because you're stinking up the place, dude. But do you know who they actually are and why they're turning people into those scary things? Well, no, I don't, but why should I? Because the more we know about them, how they operate and what their intentions are, the better we can prepare and take them on. And proof of how big a role preparation can play in the outcome. If the store manager hadn't found out how exactly that gargoyle's ability to fly worked, I'd be orbiting the Earth as space trash right now. What? Long story, forget about it. I'll tell you some other time. That brings us to the second question, and one thing's clear at least, we know where they hold up. The better we know what exactly they're planning, the easier it'll be for us to find the right kind of distraction so we can sneak in, am I right? Yeah, right. Well, at least someone here makes sense. What's your take on all of this? Oh, I have to think. Oh, don't make me think. Why? Why would you make me think? Let me think about it for a second. And the wheel.
billiard room and this one to increase their numbers. Go.
We're gonna finish up this thinking section. I think that's gonna be the end for tonight, though. You thinking about getting some chocolate ice cream? Ooh,
I had some chocolate ice cream today.
for lunch. This can be considered a breakthrough of sorts. We mustn't limit ourselves to the concepts of human morals and thought processes. If the perpetrators aren't human, we need to look at everything from a totally different angle. What's hidden in that building and what is their grand plan?
The group of villagers, the failed transformations, and this one.
If my hunch is right, they're probably trying to create more of those things, increase the number of their companions. Companions, huh? I have to admit, Freddy's transformation was a drastic one, and he looked very different. Still, it was nothing compared to the thing that waltzed into the room later on. How come there was such a big difference? They probably can't afford to be too picky about their creations anymore. I have a transcript here. It's a chant that did a number on your mind the other day. According to the records in a book, the chant was recited by a group of very odd-looking non-humans. They described as having an insatiable drive to increase their numbers by any means, though they eventually became largely extinct. They abducted innocent people. Many of them returned, though in a traumatized and fearful state, missing their memories. Sounds strangely familiar, doesn't it? So you're saying that's who? They're hiding in and operating out of the building, using surgical procedures to forcefully transform people into their own kind. They even discard their failures without any second thought or attempt to hide anything, meaning it's only a matter of time until they end up on the law's radar if they keep it up. No second thought, huh? You're right, they are working fast. There's been a huge spike in kidnappings in the southern parts of the city. This is a pretty sweet deal, you won't find another place. This is the argument. I'm not reading that out again, we already read it. Judging from what Zack heard in the building, something must have pushed them to hurry things up. They're clearly willing to take far greater risks. They want to increase their numbers at any cost. Sounds like a war is brewing to me. Who knows? All I know for sure is that if you keep letting them operate, there will be more victims. This is tricky. If they're really working on such a major project, our chances are getting smaller by the second. Not much left to say, is there? You guys can figure it out among yourselves. I don't give a rat's ass about any of that. I'm going to get Fatty out of there with or without you. Zack, please don't. Forget it. It's against my principles to let those people go free. Come in. For real? Well, thanks a lot. No need to thank me. Just trying to do the right thing. Now, let's think about our first step. We can exchange pleasantries after this is over, guys. We've got work to do. Well said. I open the notebook and pull up the enlarged blueprint of the Sanjin building. It's very clear and concise information. I really don't want to think about how Nico got her fingers on it, since it most certainly involved hacking into some classified database. The print is small and it's hard for all of us to gather around and get a good look. A store as old-fashioned as Hermitage naturally has no larger printer at its disposal. The others watch me without saying much. Nico frowns, but that's just her temper. She knows the situation and accepts it. This time around, our goal is simple. Enter the building, get Fatty out safely. Ideally, we can help 3 others that have been kidnapped. We may not be able to escort them out personally, but maybe we can create a window of opportunity so they can escape on their own. We're outnumbered, and the building is going to be packed with goons who won't be happy to see us. We don't know if there are more transformed people and what traits they may have, so our safest bet is avoiding direct confrontation. We also need to think about a quick escape route. I've seen how many of them there are with my own eyes. We really need to find a way around them. It's a difficult situation. We might be able to handle it if it's just them, but as soon as innocent bystanders get involved, the situation will turn chaotic in a blink of an eye. Huh? What makes you think that? Think about it this way. If it's only them, we can anticipate their actions. They work in secret, so they can't afford ending up on the front page of the newspapers. That means they definitely won't chase us down the street out in the open. You're right, but the same rules don't apply to the gang members who keep swarming the place. I should go in on my own. I know how those guys operate. Also, you're here for a reason, right? Trying to stay out of sight? In that case, we don't want to draw any attention to this place. Take it easy. There's no need for you to turn this into a suicide mission. We find a way.
The main problem is getting out. Getting into the restaurant is the easy part, nothing but a few dumb thugs and cronies there. Cecile helped me find a control room. I'll be able to do some jamming and provide support, but only if you don't get spotted, of course. Even if you only take Fatty with you, the trash chute won't be an option. Not enough space. But if you take another way, you'll be spotted once you're on the ground level, am I right? We need to think of a way to distract the people inside the building. Any ideas? Hey, how about we light the fire in the restaurant?
Hey, what? Hearing such an idea from Cecile takes me by surprise too.
Whoa, chill! I'm thinking that they may all rush to the restaurant that way. Then we could use the building's back entrance to escape, along with everybody who's being held captive in there.
But the back... No, we cannot use the building's back entrance to escape because the building's back entrance just goes further into the building.
Thing is, the way to the restaurant is the same we'd be using to take the building's back entrance. Too risky. And let's not forget that the restaurant is merely a cover, so who knows how effective it would be.
Yeah, and if we go through with it, there's no quitting.
We'll have to do better than that.
Right.
I'm serious. The building's overly complicated and weird structure is already going to slow us down to a certain degree. If you give them time to react, they'll have the chance to hide any evidence. We need to think big. Something that catches them so off guard that they don't have any time to react.
So you just want to rid them of any chance to kill all the flies with one stone?
That's not really how the metaphor goes, but yeah, you get the idea.
Okay, and what did you have in mind?
A fire. A big one. You know, they wouldn't want the fire department snooping around the base of operations.
It's not that easy to set a building on fire. And to make matters more difficult, there aren't many flammable things around that place. I'm familiar with your tactics, and I don't doubt for a second that you could pull it off, even if it's difficult to do. But let's not forget though, Hermitage is their place. There's a regular office space further up. You can't just burn it all to the ground.
Oh, Justy, you big dummy. You're an adult. You should have learned how to use your brain by now.
You little... Anyway, you're telling me you've somehow stumbled across miraculous alien technology that can suffice without causing any actual damage?
I am, in fact, using my brain, but you're not making any sense.
You want to use smoke bombs? I can see Justin's overwhelmed by Nico's intimidating assault on his IQ, and his brain is hard at work, so I asked Nico directly.
Yes, finally someone who's on my level. There's no need to set an actual fire. It's enough to make it look like one to make the threat appear real. If enough smoke is visible from the outside, it'll only be a matter of time before someone calls the fire department.
And while they're trying to figure out what's going on, there'll be enough time for us to go about our business undetected. It's a good idea, but one question remains.
How do we get our hands on smoke bombs? No worries, I have my ways.
Nico sighs. The situation right now calls for one of her smug expressions, but the look she gives us is the exact opposite.
I can provide smoke bombs, but...
Hey, why are you suddenly looking at me like that? Nico ignores Zach's panicked question to pose one of her own.
Zach, how far are you willing to go to save Fatty?
Whew! Wow, that is a good question. That is a very good question that you're asking there, Nico, and I'm sad to say we're not going to find out the answer to that today. Hoo hoo ha ha he he he. Not arson this time. We've done arson a great many times, I guess. Kind of. That sounds horrible. We've done arson enough times. But not this time around. No, not this time around. Not this time. No! Motherfucker. Man, I fucking love when the people I planned on raiding at the end of my stream raid into someone else at the exact same second. God damn it. Oh well. I'm not quite sure what exactly the bad guys this time around are gonna be for chapter 3. Well, some kind of water people, mer people. Well, maybe not even mer people, but they need water. Thank you for a nice stream. No, thank you for coming. Thank you for coming. When I tap out, the sound is gonna be gone again. Yep. Never-ending chain raids. Yeah. No. I wouldn't mind if it was someone I knew. Like if they were raiding into someone I knew, I would say, okay, you know what? I'll just raid into the same person as well. But if I don't know the person they're raiding into, it would. I don't know. It would be a little awkward. I think to raid into someone the same exact second. Thanks for stream. No, thank you for coming. Thank you for coming by. Well, we'll see what this chapter is all about. We'll continue this game on Sunday. Why am I frozen? On Sunday. Friday we're gonna finish up Blaze Blue. We're gonna finish up Blaze Blue Continuum Shift. And then on Saturday we're gonna play One Shot. I hope I'm not gonna suck too much at it, but I heard only good things about the game. Let me... We're actually ending on time for once. It's a visual novel and we're ending on time. Are you proud of me? I'm not going over time. No, it was a good place to stop because I'm guessing whatever's going to happen next is gonna be really big. Like if we actually go into that place and fight people or something. Wish a good yawn. You too. Thank you so much for coming by tonight. See you all soon. Good night and bye bye.